Ahoy! How the heretics? So this is Daniel Stokes, and I'm actually nervous for the first time of my life. I think there's like 15 people watching. And I can't remember when I've been nervous since I was a kid in the kingdom. Are you nervous, Daniel?
A little bit, yeah. I was
Yeah.
aware of this interview about an hour ago, so yeah, very little time.
So I gave the link to all of my patrons to see if they will stop in. The thing I was thinking about, we should have a monthly or weekly Pimo to Pomo talk show. Not focusing on 607 and, well, obviously not kitty fiddling and all the bad stuff, but just leaving the cult and the funny stuff, because there's actually a lot of funny stuff about leaving. When you get what do you call it, perspective, it's actually a lot. It's comedy gold to be in a cult.
It is once you're completely out of it. It's very funny to look back. You realize how silly you were to believe the silly things you used to believe, and take silly people's word for absolute gospel truth. But it takes a long time from getting out before you actually start to look back on it and laugh. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of channel, that wants to prove Watchtower wrong. I don't want to prove them wrong because they're wrong. It's like I don't walk around prove flat earthers wrong.
Oh yeah, that's
so
for a different day. I actually like taking those people apart, but yeah, sorry, different conversation.
Yeah, so but like a show once a month. So the comment section here, you can write everything you want us to talk about if you want to, because I'm thinking, what if we just have a talk show once a week or once a month about leaving, so the people that are in the process of leaving, because there's a period when you feel so effing lonely,
and guilty.
Yeah, and so what should we talk about without going into the bitter stuff, without going in too much to the doctrine, but leaving? So one thing I'm thinking about is, like having every time, is to ask, what would you have said? If you think about Watchtower, you're studying the Watchtower, and they give you the paragraph, and they give you the question, and they give you the answer. And we were just parroting this. But like 10 years after, you think maybe learn more about science. You think, okay, that would have been the real question, the real answer. Have you any ideas of that? I think. Let me know in the comment. Would that be a good section to use every time on this talk show, or is this just me seeking glory for myself again?
I think it'd be a good idea if we put up a question, or if you put up a question a little bit in advance, so that we could think about different answers we could have given to it. I mean, as you were saying earlier, it's about the scientific questions about things like evolution, or just, I know you said not to mention it, by 607 and things like that, where I wish I had the knowledge now, so that I could go back and say, actually, would you mind just explaining this a little bit clearer for me, rather than just repeating what was written in the paragraph, there's probably lots of things that we took for granted that we could go back and question a little bit more. Question them full stop. We never did that when we were in, did we?
Alice Big Toe is here. Can I send you the link? Where's Ali? I can send you on Messenger the link. What's her name in real life? Alexandra, yeah. So I'm just sending her a link now and see if she takes the bait. She's famous. Ish.
Yeah, I've seen some of her videos. I like watching them.
Yeah.
She got baptized again in the river in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and apparently that was completely against the rules. How dare you get baptized the way that Jesus instructed you to?
Yeah, that's bad.
It's another one of those times where Jesus said one thing but meant something completely different according to what
he did that a lot.
he did.
It's a good thing we can explain what. That was what I didn't understand when I was a kid. Why do God need my help to explain what he meant? As a child, I couldn't understand that.
No, you just have to accept it. But yeah, I mean, if you did ask questions, you were told to be more faithful, weren't you? You should have more faith. You should just believe in it.
Yeah, but the Ellie thing. Watchtower kills the humanity, people. You got the link on Messenger, so you can come on and tell your story if you want, Ellie. But anyway, that's a good story for this talk show if we're working with this concept, from Pimo to Pomo, because, well, I don't believe in the Bible, so there's really no reason for me to get baptized. But that's one example of how to live, and it's kind of funny story, being disfellowshipped for being baptized.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't class myself as Christian. Oh wow, it still hurts even saying things like this after all these years. But I believe in a higher power. I believe in right and wrong. I just don't believe that what is written down is specifically what was said all that time ago. But like the thing is, I don't mind if people want to be a Christian or a Muslim or a Buddhist. I don't care if people want to be a Jehovah's Witness. That's fine. I've got no problem, as long as it doesn't start impacting on other people. You start letting people die for a blood policy or stuff like that, which we're not going to go into. That's when I want to stand up and say, hang on a minute. If you're going to do these things, then base it on something that's actually written down, not just a kooky New York interpretation of it.
Yeah. So if we try to stick with the thing now, from Pimo to Pomo, were you Pimo? You were never Pimo?
I was never Pimo. No, I was Pomo for a while. To add another one in there, I was physically out but mentally in. Yes. I worked for a guy from Northern Ireland called Gareth, and this was some years afterwards. I was still at the stage where I was still apologising for the organisation a lot. I'm going to die at Armageddon. It's my fault. I just didn't fit in properly. They've got the truth. It's just not for me. You're excusing everything you hear about them. You're always sticking up for them. And I was explaining this to Gareth. I just started working for him recently, and he was from Northern Ireland, and he was telling me about he got this fellowship because he was gay.
Yeah.
My homophobia went out the window after I started working in the city and met gay people and realized they're just normal, average people. You know what I mean? It's yeah. But anyway, that's a different story. He says that in Northern Ireland, you have to line up at the wake of a funeral. So for his father's funeral, he went back being disfellowshipped, stood in the doorway of his house with his brothers and mother, and 70 or 80 of the congregation came and walked past, shook everyone's hand except his at his father's own funeral, and then went in. It's just disgusting behaviour. But I was still explaining that away, because I hadn't transitioned yet. I was still apologizing.
Just to recap, at his father's wake, he's standing in the doorway, as is tradition in Northern Ireland, and shake everyone's hand. At his father's funeral, basically, they're entering his house.
Well, his mother's house.
But still,
yeah.
We would call it his house, in a way, his mother's house. But
they shook
so
his mother's hand,
funeral,
his brother's hand.
He's standing there, honoring the tradition and shaking a hand, and they all were passing.
Yep.
And that's a funeral.
That's a funeral. That's his father's funeral. Now, the arrogant Jehovah's Witness that was still in me at this point, years after I'd left, tried to explain that away to Gareth. I tried to be on the Watchtower side about that and say it's all for scriptural reasons and everything, which is so arrogant looking back on it that it's horrible. He said to me, Dan, you're still a Jehovah's Witness. You just don't go to meetings. I was like, that's a light bulb moment. Yes, that was shortly before my actual wake up moments where I realised. And talking about transitioning from Pimo to Pomo, I think it's much more, for me, it's much more in here. You know, for years afterwards, I was still feeling very guilty about leaving and being blood guilty for not telling people. And I can't speak to my family now, but I know that's my fault. And there's something wrong with me. It's not until you get underneath the doctrines and find out that it's all based on lies. And that's, for me, where the transition happens, where that knot in your stomach and that guilt and that, oh my God, I'm going to die soon at Armageddon, just evaporates away. And that yeah, unfortunately, in my case, that got replaced by rage for a little bit, because I realized I've been lied to for so long. But after that, I came out and was absolutely brilliant. So
Yeah. I just got the message I have to answer. So anyway, I can work with that. Some people ask if there were. I made this. I'm kind of a creative person, but that also means I'm kind of an impulsive person. I thought Sundays should be the best time. At 10 o'clock on a Sunday. No, 12 o'clock my time, because it's not too late for me. I'm a big boy and I can have a glass of wine. But for Americans, it's kind of, they live in the past. So for them, it's, I don't know, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, yeah.
6 o'clock. So it's good for them. And if there are any Australian early birds that don't work on a Monday, it's kind of a good time for everyone. So that's why I took it now. But anyway, so this guy, the gay guy, he did charity work. Could you tell us about the charity work? Because that's, Jehovah Witnesses is a charity because they teach people how to be happy.
Okay.
Term supply.
So,
but you're talking real charity now.
The company that I was working for, I can name the company because it shut down a few years ago. It was called Face to Face Fundraising. I was a team leader for them, and we were raising massive amounts of money for people like Save the Children charities. We were at Gareth's flat one night, having a few drinks after work with the managers, and again, the subject came up of Jehovah's Witnesses between me and him. And so you have to admit, Gareth, that for all of their faults or whatever, they do lots of good work. They do lots of charity work. I'm not going to do his accent because I wouldn't do it justice. He says, Dan, I've been to Africa, I've been to Asia, I've handed out bottles of water, I've erected tents, I've put fences up, I have helped people, I've helped them to dig the wells, I've been there on the floor, I've seen Medicine Sans Frontières, I've seen Save the Children, I've seen the Red Cross, I've seen the Red Crescent, and he listed off multiple. He's been in the charity sector for most of his adult life. He's worked for them all, and he's gone there and he's done it. I've seen the photos. But either way, he says, not once did we see a Watchtower van there handing out bottles of water. Not once did we see them doing anything on the camps, anything for the public. He says a couple of times we would see them doing something with Jehovah's Witnesses, rebuilding their hall, something like this. He says, but they are never on the floor. He says, because there are charities for every section of a disaster. There are charities that run in there and hand out the bottles of water straight away. There are charities that go in after them and then help to establish the camps. And then there are charities like Action Aid, which go in there and help them to reset up their town, essentially. He says at no point in that process do Jehovah's Witnesses come into the planning. At no point do they come in. And that was another wake-up call, because in the assemblies, you're always hearing about this great work they're doing and how they're, packing up all these vans full of clothes to go to these disaster areas.
And they're always the first one also.
They're always the first one there, and they're sneaking past border guards that won't want to let them through. And you know what I mean? You're sat there in the assembly like, oh, wow, I want to be one of those brothers when I wake up. I'll sneak past the border guard. It doesn't happen. I mean, you would think with all these examples they used to give us, they might show us a photograph or two, a video maybe, Has anyone seen a photograph of a Jehovah's Witness doing charity work?
No, they really don't do charity. We have a third person here, and that's our in-house historian, Jeff. So we could ask him if he put on your pants now, and we can put you on here. Yes, here he is.
Hey.
Hello, Jeff.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, just thought we could do some, what's it called? Fact checking. Have they ever done any real charity work?
only for themselves. You in recent years, anyway. I don't know of anything in the past. I don't think they had enough cash in the past. I just found a letter by Macmillan in 1915 today, where he says basically the society was practically out of money. They were broke, he said, was the exact word. So
they're certainly claiming that in Australia right now, aren't they?
yeah.
Yeah, but Russell, I think Russell, he came from money, and people that come from money, they have this idea that money will always be there. And I think you can see that in the cult like it used to be. The literature were almost for free, and they were not so very much nagging like other cults do.
Well, Russell had to start publishing after he got found out scamming people selling miracle wheat, didn't he? So.
Yeah.
The photo drama of creation. That was it's boring, but it's interesting historically. But the amount of money they spent on that was a lot of money. I think that's what helped.
You know what I remember?
Pretty much bankrupt them, right?
Just a question. Stick with the charity thing, real charity, because Russell, he was rich, and I do believe he was obviously a religious person. I don't think he started a cult because he started a religion that turned into a cult. So at that point, didn't they do any form of charity? Is there anything about that?
I don't know anything about that. I could do a quick search, but I'll do a search. I got a database where I can look it up here. I was going to tell a story, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please do.
Your theme is Pimo to Pomo.
Yeah.
And this is kind of an in-between story. So I'll tell the story and I'll research and I'll come back if I find anything. But a friend of mine from Argentina had a Jehovah's Witness friend come and visit the United States here. And she brought her to her church, which usually is a no-no for a Jehovah's Witness. But they started to have a Bible study and they had some kind of debate or a disagreement. And so there was various views that were presented. They discussed the different views and the leader summarized them up and kind of left it for the audience to go and, research it at home themselves. Well, she turned to the translator and asked, well, when is the leader going to tell them the truth? And she said, well, he's not. He's going to, let them go home and research themselves and let them decide for themselves. So the Jehovah's Witness turns to her and says, I'm glad I'm a Jehovah's Witness because we don't have to think. They tell us what to believe. So I thought it was a funny story and it fit your theme,
Yeah, I believe it's true. It sounds very... Yeah, I actually was met... Okay, so most people, the anthroposopher, it's kind of culty, but it's not as destructive as Jehovah Witness. It's a weird religion. They hit all the cult things, but really soft, like a harmless cult in a way. And I was there talking to them, and I asked questions. What does it take to, from our mindset, we ask about all the rules. What does it take to be able to call yourself a member of this? And they just looked at me like, well, you can do it now if you want to. Well, in Jehovah Witness, okay, well, you have to study, you have to ask the elders, you have to do these questions, you have to live like this, you have to have a calendar with your masturbation habits, and you have to turn it in. That's to be able to call yourself a Jehovah Witness, go to all these things. So it's an interesting question to ask any religion. If they say, this is a religion, it's called XYZ, I always ask, what would it take me to call myself a member of XYZ? And often you get an answer.
I think the more interesting question would be, what would I have to do to leave XYZ?
Yeah, but then they would just start lying to you if it's true, or they would say, why would anyone leave?
Best life ever.
Yeah, I used to say that when they say, are you allowed to criticize your leaders? And obviously we say we don't have any leaders. Okay, who writes the Watchtower? Wonderful people. Are you allowed to criticize the people that write Watchtower? And my go-to answer would always be, there's no reason to criticize them. Aye. It's like cult written on your forehead. I thought it was a wonderful answer.
Well, I do have an example of George Storrs and his work for the abolitionist movement.
Who's yours? There was one of the.
So if you saw the history video that Jehovah's Witnesses did, when they talk about those who influenced Russell,
Yeah, that was what I was thinking about. It was Jonas Wendel,
faith
Miller,
in action, I think is what it's called.
and Storer, and some.
Yeah, so Storrs,
Barber.
Nelson Barber. Yeah, George Storrs actually met the Russell family, but he was very influential and very involved in the abolitionist movement back in the 1830s and 40s, along with Henry Grew. There's actually a book on Henry Grew's daughter, Mary Grew. She was a strong feminist and abolitionist, but there's a lot of stories of how Storrs was helping the abolitionist movement, how he helped the black people at the time. And he'd be preaching against slavery, and the police would grab him, drag him out in the street, and beat him, and then imprison him for the works that he was doing, trying to help before the abolition of slavery.
Yeah.
Oh, well, fair play to him, eh?
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's a pity Russell couldn't have taken on some of his fight when he was talking about Ethiopians praying themselves white.
Yeah. You know what they say, when you know better, you do better. And I would put Russell in that category. Remember, I think it's fair to say that he was a victim of childhood indoctrination. And and many of the things he said that today would be stupid. He said in paradise we will all be white. But if you think about it from his perspective, that was him trying to include everyone, and that was him trying to be nice. So he did the best he could. He was a victim of child indoctrination.
I believe that Russell was a lot more. He believed in it a lot more than people like Rutherford. I think he actually believed in it, full stop, sort of thing. I don't think many of the leaders after that truly in their hearts believed in it. They were just in it for the power. But that's the way I read it.
I think you're right, because when I look at Rutherford's history, because that's where my focus is right now with the History Channel, all he was trying to do was prove that he was the chosen one, basically, and take control of the society. When Russell died, they had mentioned that Russell's sister lived in Florida, and they said, well, let's bring her up for the funeral. And he basically said, nope, we don't have enough money for that. Just leave her alone, So Rutherford didn't care. All he wanted was control of the society and the money.
Complete control. But that's also why they weren't allowed beards for decades, wasn't it? Wasn't it the German printing press? And Rutherford said you can have a printing press if you shave your beard off, because the Bethelites were wearing it sort of in remembrance of Russell in a way, because Russell had a beard. I might have that wrong. You're the historian, but that's how I read it.
Yeah.
Well, I see a lot I'm Zemoed in, even though I've never been a Jehovah's Witness. I'm attending some of them. And there's a few of the JWs that have beards now. So I was kind of surprised when you look on the videos.
That's something that just came up in someone's video recently for the first time. Since Russell's day, they had a picture of someone in a watchtower with a beard that also didn't have biker tattoos and a leather jacket. Like they used to portray people with beards.
Yeah, they used to say that Jesus did not have a beard, and they explain it in the literature that there were scriptures pointing to Jesus not having a beard. And you see, when someone comes to the Twoot, it's always a picture of someone with a beard, and then he starts studying and it's trimmed, and then when they get baptized, there's nothing.
Yeah.
You see the same with the sister. She's living in a messy home. Obviously, she's doing, she starts studying in a messy kitchen, and then the kitchen get clean, and she puts on the skirt, and then she get baptized and happy ever after. So it's the thing.
Oh, you notice as well the Afro hairdo goes down as well in the same fashion. on that
Wait,
video.
wait. I got a funny thing here from Ellie Big Toe. She says, Jonas, thank you for bringing attention to the charity project. The Watchtower is abusing reef farmers and food. You know, they're sending out care packages and giving the impression that this is from Jehovah or Watchtower, or they say it's from the farm or stuff like that. Basically, they're getting surplus food and they're delivering it from, they ask for donations. And imagine 1 million Americans, and they manage to nag to get 10% of their grocery bill. That's much more than the printing operation ever gave. You do spend more. Even a fanatic Jehovah Witness family spend more on groceries than on literature. So I'm really interested. So she said she can confirm that Watchtower is also repackaging food from cruise ships. Alexandra, I gave you the link. You can come on and tell us this. Just go to Messenger and boop, 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 and you will be on. That will be fun.
Last week in the Jehovah's Witness meeting, they have the morning devotion. Yeah. Somebody said they had attended a congregation a couple days before that. And she said, oh, Jehovah provided their whole congregation with all this food. And you could see the elders kind of looking around because they hadn't told their congregation yet that this was coming. And there's this awkward silence for a little bit. And then he says, well, the governing body is rolling this out over the country here and there. And there are several in our congregation that are going to benefit and more will come later. But we're still waiting for the more. I'm a Zemo and I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. I don't think I'm going to see anything,
No, of course not. But that's the entire point of Jehovah's Witness charity, though, isn't it? Here's some free food. Now give me something.
Yeah. Because they actually said that these packages should be delivered to everyone in the congregation, no matter if they're wealthy or not. So if you're doing a good job as a window cleaner and you're making billions, and you will still get the package and be guilt tripped to pay for it,
They're probably giving
and
more
if you're
to the wealthy
ones. What do you call it? True believer, you will probably give more. So it's a charity where they take food for free. The witnesses themselves distribute it, and they give it to rich people and ask for donations.
Of course.
It is
the rich people can donate more.
Yeah. So I'm gonna remove Jeff and ask Ellie. So Jeff, you are a bad association. We remove you, and we put in Ellie instead. And she has her microphone muted.
Yeah. I'm unmuted.
Yeah. Tell us about your cruise ships packages.
Well, hi. I can confirm that there are Bethelites who have been reassigned and they are receiving food from cruise ships because of COVID and are repackaging that food for Jehovah's Witnesses in the name of charity.
Are they putting Watchtower Farm stickers on it at all? Or yeah.
Yes.
Are they doing that? Literally putting stickers on it?
No, I don't know about the literal stickers, but they're taking food from cruise ships because the cruises aren't running at full capacity because of COVID, and they're redistributing that food for JWs.
Yeah. I actually been thinking a long time, why are they not doing this? Because I work with food, so to speak. But I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to give them any idea. But it's a lot of money. It's a much bigger business model than delivering literature. They have, according to themselves, the biggest printing operation in the world based on asking for donations. So it's a business. Just because there's no fixed price, it's still a business. A lot of businesses runs like that. Yeah. Even restaurants that don't have fixed prices, they just have a menu and you give a great tip. But you can leave without paying. So it is a business strategy. So making
these restaurants
1 million Americans. and giving them free food and asking for donation. They don't even have to print it anymore.
Well, no, now they're distributing something people actually want: food.
Yeah.
Yeah, real food.
Yeah, none of this bogus spiritual food.
Yeah, but it's so unethical, like I said in my video about this. Because imagine if you're now dependent on these packages to provide for your family, and then you need a blood transfusion, and you're in a vulnerable state, and they say, well, we can't stop you, but remember, you won't get any more food.
Oh,
That
Well, if they're willing to take your mother and father away from you, they're willing to take your food away from you.
Yeah. So it's highly unethical. Okay, I'll tell you. I'm thinking about, so this is a pilot. We're just working with so everyone in the section here, they can give example of questions that would be smart to ask within the topic, from Pimo to Pomo. Do you have any smart to say, Ali, about baptized, or how long were you Pimo?
I was Pimo for 3 years.
Okay, what did you do?
I got baptized in a lake by my return visit.
So you could report the hours.
No, it wasn't so that I could report the hours. I really wanted to, but
I reported the hours. That's so much more fun. I like messing with the witnesses. Okay, yeah, keep going.
From Pimo to Pomo, or Pomo to Pimo, or whatever, how it goes. I wish I could quietly. Am I still on? My phone is bad. It's going to die really soon. For the sake of my own family, my biological family, looking back, I wish I could have gone more quietly, but when it comes to child pedophilia and child sex abuse, I just could not stay quiet. And I just had to ask questions, but my family is destroyed because of asking questions, and one would think that God's organization would care about children, but quote unquote, God's organization does not care about children or human rights or personal choice or freedom of speech or critical thinking or any of that. And as a result, I don't have my whole family. So it is what it
Join the
is.
club. I saw my sister, my biological sister, for the first time in a few weeks the other day. She literally lives at the end of my road.
I can't hear anything.
4 houses along it. Oh, Jonas, can you hear me, or is my mic?
I can hear you. I can
you
hear
hear
you.
me now, Ali?
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably, yeah. So yeah, I saw my biological sister for the first time in a few weeks. She lives on the end of my road. Turn right, 4 houses down. That's it. That's where my sister lives. Obviously, her and her husband do not speak to me at all. I am apostate number 1 in our town. But we see each other every few weeks, and she's walking the dog the other day. Hi, Esther. I always say hello. There's no rule stopping me from saying hello to my sister. Hello. Stoically walking past, like, onward, Christian soldier. It's so funny, but tragic at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, Ali's gone.
No, I think she logged out. Well, she did it herself, so she disassociated. I love talking the Watchtower lingo. I don't mind it. It's just for fun. But I never use the word "the truth" because I know a lot of, especially if you're disfellowshipped and you have parents inside. If you remember when mothers were talking about their child that was disfellowshipped, they would always tell their friends, but he always referred to it as the truth. So you give them a false hope because they believe you're a believer. When you refer to the poo as the truth, they think you believe it's the truth, So I do all the cult language, because it's fun, but not the truth. That's why I call this show Twoot. I think that's a good name.
I'll just call it the lies. But I mean, the thing is, I don't know if you've ever looked into NLP, neuro linguistic programming. but I had to do a bit of it for one of my jobs. It's long story short. Anyway, they talk about these key words that you can use to input information into someone's head, essentially when you're selling something to them. But these frequent words that they're talking about, like the truth, when you read books on NLP and then you look back at the Watchtower, you're like, oh wow, they use all of these tactics. It's very, very interesting when you look at it. So just the phrase the truth repeated ad nauseum, that is literally connecting it in your head with that's true, that's true, that's true. And it's just another mental block to stop you from leaving. It's a very good thing to read up on NLP if you are leaving the organization. It shows you all their dirty tricks from a salesman's point of view. It's quite funny.
Yeah, they do a lot. I learned some about hypnosis, and I see they use kind of the same thing in Watchtower. I see Ina Pickle is here. She has the link to come on if you want to. All my patrons get it, so just go on if you want. And I see Ephraim. I think Ephraim Riviera Jr. You have the link too, so don't be shy. So now, is there anything you should have said at the meetings that you didn't say?
Get me out of here.
Yeah, but like we answer like questions at the meetings,
I can't think of a specific example. It's been 18 odd years since I set foot into a kingdom hall. What I do remember about it is I remember asking my dad lots of questions after we left, and him being like, "Well, I don't actually know." But there's just things where, like we were saying earlier, you think it's you that's got the problem. You think it's you that can't understand it for whatever reason.
Yeah, and we have a birthday child here.
No, just the city. Doesn't say which city it is.
Happy birthday!
Oh, she disappeared.
Happy pagan festival.
Yeah, she was decapitated. Resurrected.
Hey guys.
Hello.
We thought you were decapitated.
How live am I? How many people are viewing me right now?
I don't know.
144,000.
Let's see here. 80. So
80?
yeah, that's not
Oh,
so bad
boy.
for a pilot. So,
So-
you're celebrating birthday today.
I'm celebrating my birthday today.
That's obviously on the Pimo Pomo spectrum.
Can you see? These are the children.
Yeah.
They're getting ready to get my cake out. So
Oh, fantastic.
I might pop on in just a few minutes so you can hear them sing me happy birthday.
Okay. And if
All right.
they don't sing, you take them to the bathroom and you do a meeting.
I'll be back in a little bit.
Okay. See you. Through years.
Could I
No.
ask a question? Could I ask a question to the people in the chat room?
Yeah, do that.
How long after you stopped going to meetings did you start celebrating birthdays? For me, it was probably about 4 or 5 years after I left, after I stopped going, that before I actually celebrated my own birthday. Did people do it straight away when they left, or did it take them a few years to get back into it?
Yes. Mine was yesterday. Lida Arango.
What about you, Jonas? How long did you take to start celebrating birthdays again?
Well, well, 1 month. Exactly. I don't know. I stopped believing in 2004, and first time I celebrated my birthday was last year. So, but then I was not even disfellowshipped yet. So, technically, yeah.
Have you been disfellowshipped yet?
Yeah, that's a funny
Wow.
thing. They sent me a letter that they would have like a meeting to encourage me, and that's nice. And then they specifically said, if you cannot come this date, tell us and we will find another date. The letter specifically said that. So I told them in writing, I cannot that date. And then when I come home from the convention, basically, I was in Australia, I got a letter that was dated back 3 weeks. that said, since you didn't want to come to the meeting, we respected that. And it's just asshole thing to write because they know it's not true, but since you said you didn't want to come, we respected that and had a meeting without you and your disfellowship for spreading something, basically being apostate. But and then this appeal was 2 days, and they knew I was in Australia, so it's kind of bullshit way of behaving. I can't just, if they believe it's true, what do they have to lose to do it the right way? So let's say what they say. Ina Pickle say, I'm still Pimo, woke up for 9 months, but I celebrated my Pomo son's 30th birthday last week. Oh, good for you. And I have a goat named Ino Pickle, and he's all right. So greetings from him. My patrons get to name goats if they want to, and if I remember to honor my promise. Pam Petterson says, I was 64 also 2 years ago when I celebrate my birthday. And Deborah Amstead, soon Pomo. That's good. Yeah. XJW career help. Once I knew Watchtower was wrong, I left all rules. Was a JW for 50 years. Yeah.
I think my problem was when I left, it was because I was a teenager and wanted to go and be a teenager rather than waking up when I was still in that sort of thing. It took me a few years, like I said, to wake up on the outside. So, yeah, full birthday mode now, though, and Christmas. And anything else that's even slightly pagan, I'm there, baby.
Yeah, so I celebrated Christmas last week because I done it once in the winter, and now I done it once in the summer. It's a good thing to be able to make your own rules.
Well,
and then I also I never celebrated the Swedish National Day yet, but I celebrated Canada Day last week. That's easy. You just have to be level-headed and reasonable and polite the whole day. And then yesterday we had the American Independence Day.
For that one, you have to go and get a gun and a cowboy hat, yeah?
I do have my hat, and I have a lot of guns actually, but well, it's difficult to celebrate Independence Day because most typical American stuff is illegal in civilized countries. But there's basically two kinds of Americans. The first one, they talk like this. That's offensive. That's very offensive. I'm not offended because it's a choice to be offended. But that's very offensive and very offensive. I can't believe you say something like that. That's the one kind of Americans. They're always offended. And then the other kind of Americans, I only know two. They talk like this. If you see that line, it goes straight to the Vatican. And we know that the conquistadors had something to do with the Canada Association, and the mainstream media will never tell you about, but on the deep state dark web, you can see pictures of Hillary Clinton executing babies. Those are the only two Americans I know.
The thing is, it's very easy
by everything, or they see conspiracy theories everywhere. So
it's very easy to go into conspiracy theories after leaving the Watchtower because you've been told your whole life that the government is plotting against you and it's all Satan's. My dad used to tell me, "Oh well, you know that they're the worst people in power because if there was worse people, Satan would put them into government instead." You've been told your whole life these people are against you and everything. So I think it's quite easy for witnesses to get on the conspiracy train. That being said, it's a discussion for a different day. I believe that in some of these things, but not the outrageous stuff. Anything like flat Earth, aliens, virtual reality. I'm not interested. Go away. It's ridiculous. I like things where you can, like with the witnesses, where you can debunk them. You can sit there with a board, and you can go through things with a calculator, and you can say, "Here's my proof, here's my evidence, and here's why I know you're wrong." I like those sort of conspiracies where scientists are involved and they can give you a scientific basis for it. But it's very easy leaving the witnesses to just get into anything anybody says and be very gullible towards it because hell. You've never had any questions about sources for your entire life. Everything you are told from the day you were born is absolute fact. And when they change it, it's just being refined, So why wouldn't you believe all these cretins on the internet?
I never believed in conspiracy theories after leaving, and not before. I think it's just easier when you leave because everything makes sense all the time, and reality is reality. There's so many problems. Okay, like global warming, some people think that's a conspiracy, and I just think if we stop burning carbon, we solve a bunch of other problems anyway. So
Yeah, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. What if we what what if we save the world one time too many?
Well, this is the thing. Even if you don't believe in global warming, I don't understand that myself, but even if you didn't believe in global warming, what is the worst that could happen by cutting out the oil? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas, turn it around. If these 97% of the scientists do happen to be correct about global warming, what's the worst thing that happens if we don't stop using oil and coal? Well, that would be extinction. Let's just err on the side of caution here. That's where
But my point is, I just used as one example. On many of these conspiracy theories, it's like this is a real problem we can solve, and then they focus on all these conspiracy theories whether there's so many problems that are real. That's not a conspiracy that we can solve, like soil. America is losing their soil because of the way they plow their fields. That's the kind of stuff I'm worried about. They lost 1.5 meters of topsoil. That means you will starve in 200 years. That's a real thing. It's not a conspiracy. It's just a fact. And it's boring. It's not sexy, and you cannot write. But there's so many problems. So, now I digress. But anyway, I never felt for conspiracy theories. Anyway, I have to say thank you to someone called Gina Weiss. Do you have any questions, Gina? If you put the question here, I can promise you that Daniel will answer it. So, do you have in the comment section? If I'm gonna keep on doing this, like a talk show talking about Pimo to Pomo, and is there any kind of sections we should have every time, or some questions we should have every time? Tell me in the section. Someone asked, good evening, what is the pilot episode about? No, it's not about religion. It's about leaving a cult. Being Pimo, going to Pomo. Pimo means physically and mental out, and Pomo means physical out, mental out. And you can have a lot of fun in that process, and a lot of individual thing. Like I spent 14 years. He spent... How long did you spend?
How long was I in there?
Yeah, until you were mentally out.
So I was born in until 15 years old. At 15 years old, I stopped going to meetings, and at around about 2021, I realized it was all based on feces. And at that point, I stopped worrying about it. But there was 5 or 6 traumatic years of worrying about dying next week when Armageddon comes. It's just around the corner. It's just around the corner.
Ina Pickle writes, first I have to say thank you to Shane Bem, if I pronounce it correctly. And Ina Pickle said, I love the idea of a question and answer section. Okay. So what questions and answer should we have? The only thing I thought about a lot of stuff, but like what we should have said at the meetings. I gave one example. Watchtower always talk about butterflies. So there's a paragraph about butterflies. So hear me out about this. They have a paragraph about butterflies. Butterflies are beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And then you should raise your hand and they say, what do butterflies teach us about Jehovah? And people say, well, the butterflies are beautiful and it shows that Jehovah loves us. And then some moron always say, well, if the butterfly are beautiful, prove that evolution is wrong, because if evolution was true, all butterflies should be gray, which actually most butterflies are. So that's do you remember the butterfly being mentioned at least once a year?
I remember various animals being used in all random sorts of
What do this teach us about Jehovah? And then people don't know as much about animals. So this is the point now. What I should have said, answer, because I know more about butterflies than Watchtower. So one thing I was thinking about was saying that Well, most butterflies are gray. 90% of butterflies are gray. They're called moths. And so I say, most butterflies are gray, but some of them are flamboyant and colorful. And this teaches us a lesson that to stay away from homosexuality. But the other question answer I was thinking about was this: what do butterfly teach us about Jehovah? I want to say, and this is true. I'm sorry if someone is offended, but this is true. To say, well, butterflies have an extra eye on the. This is true. I'm not joking. Have an extra eye on their penis, and this teaches us that Jehovah wants us to have our eyes focused on the target. So that's what
I can see a judicial committee happening if you actually.
Yeah, but if they ask us, what can butterfly teach us about Jehovah? And Jehovah created this very fancy extra eye because it's probably very, yeah.
What I don't get is, why did God create viruses? Why did God create these little? There's these worms, basically. They live in dogs or whatever. I don't know. But when they get into a human,
sorry, we have a birthday celebration here. Can we just look at her and?
Happy birthday!
Happy first birthday! Yeah, these are hard.
Oh, I gotta turn it. Where's the fire?
Maddie,
I don't know.
I'll light it.
Maddie, you gotta light for the candles.
I'll light it.
Hunter will light it.
It's your first birthday too,
Do you know?
apparently.
Why does it say you're number one?
Because this is my first birthday.
Oh! Oh, you're a number. You're number one. I'll be the queen star. Oh, something's
Say
happening.
hello to our audience.
I want to like the queen star.
Oh, fire. Oh, fire. The noise is
They're designed for the Rodney family.
okay.
Can you hear me?
1 and 2 and 3.
1.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Cindy. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah.
I did. I already know like 20 years.
Happy birthday. I think that was too too much noise, but it's a good start. We're learning, so please tell us in this section here if we're doing something right or doing something wrong. Thank you, Sam Peterson. If you have any questions for Daniel, just write it here and he can tell you anything. His wife is pregnant. That's something funny also. Congratulations for everyone. We need more apostates on this planet.
You wait until I find the guy who did it.
Huh?
You wait until I find the guy who did it.
I didn't hear that. What did you say?
Wait until I find the guy who got my wife pregnant.
Okay, yeah.
Don't worry.
How many kids do you have now?
That will be my second.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah, my first one's a little diamond.
Yes, the comment section says new baby. Yeah, but it's kind of fun because if you were being Jehovah Witness now, you would have said that this kid is the X generation Jehovah Witness. But now you say he's the first generation, do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, well, if I was a Jehovah's Witness, this would now be the child I would say would never finish school before Armageddon was there. Obviously, well, it's sort of like an overlapping school generation, you see. Because my oldest sister she was never supposed to finish school, and then it went to my second sister and then brother, and then I was never supposed to finish school, and then it became my nephew. So in our family, we have overlapping school generations that we're going to see in the end of time.
Yeah, your kids will never finish school, but for a whole bunch of other reasons. So, do we have any more people? No, we don't have people in. To all of my patrons, you have the link, so you can come online. and talk whatever. So you forget to read Ritter Fraud's book Children? Rutherford's book Children. Freebird. He's an overlapping generation of Armageddon to never come. That's true. Hey Dan, do you change diapers?
I certainly do.
Yeah, but on other people, not yourself.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't have a clue when I first had Theo, my firstborn. I remember actually we knew so little about babies that we were sat there in the delivery room asking the midwife how we were supposed to put the baby into the car seat, because it was the first time we'd ever done it. It's a steep learning curve, but
Yeah.
we do something right anyway. He's turned out to be a little diamond, so
that's good. So Efrain Riviera writes that he can't find a link, and I send him on Messenger if he wants to find it. So also Guy says you laugh like a goat. I'm probably talking about you. It's about time we have fun celebrating birthday, Christmas, all public holidays. Ine will also was a limo. What the? Ine will was I can't understand. Maybe spelling bad.
Inner Pickles asked a good one. What's your exit song from the Watchtower theme tune? It's got to be The Great Escape, surely.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you miss the protest this year?
Yes.
I met him at the London protest.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's actually fun to protest.
It was a brilliant protest. It's the first time I'd met up with apostates, as it were, and it was just nice to be among kindred spirits. Apart from one walnut, I got along with everybody there, and it was a really good time. So, yeah, I thought it was funny when you was playing the harmonica, and that lady, if we just say that, came up and someone said, "You do know he's an apostate?" She goes, "We've all got our secrets," and walks back into the hall, like, you know. That was nice.
Yeah, it's actually fun. So, there's some wrote something here. I know this is I probably know as a question we can use every time. We're still working on the concept here. I knew I was Pimo when.
I was never Pimo. I was still a believer after I left.
Yeah, but it's a good question.
Mm.
I'm thinking about myself now. I knew I was Pimo. Yeah, that's a good thing. I remember I struggle with understanding, the flood, the deluge, because, there's stuff of, water molecules and all that. It doesn't make any sense. And I saw a picture of a kangaroo and I just woke up. I just felt I wasted my life. And I did, all the motivated reasoning you can do, try to put the world, geology together and push all the continents together so the kangaroo could skip. And they said to me that my aunt, she's a really lovely pioneer, the kind of people that actually bring people into the Twoot. And she had been struggling with this, and she was struggling. How did the Indian elephant come to India? Because it can't walk through Himalaya. And so everyone told, because I would describe myself when I lost my faith, that I was spiritual weak, obviously, because you speak the lingo. And then everyone said, well, you should talk to her because she was really shaken up and she had to do the research. So it's kind of the last resort, I had no hope for this, but, I went to her and I asked, and she said, well, and she's all the details, because you've really been thinking about this, all the reasons why the Indian elephant can't come to India, walk from Turkey to India, after the flood. And she gave me all the billion reasons, And then I said, okay, so what was the answer? What was the answer? And she said, no, in the end, I just decided to never think about it again.
Yeah, just trust in Jehovah.
Yeah. So then, and I said, okay, there's really, and I knew already, but I given Watchtower the benefit of the doubt. There's no answer to this, and I thought, okay, it's just a stupid religion, and I can just pretend. So that's probably when I was Pimo. But the funny thing, that was the same night. It was a meeting, and so it was like I realized I'm a Pimo. I'm going to pretend for the rest of my life, and then I went to the meet with, okay, it's just a stupid religion. At least it's not a cult. And then the first meeting, they had an announcement. And you can't really make this stuff up. So there was a new school book for schools in Sweden, and this book had a chapter about cults, and how to understand when someone is in a cult. So you should ask them, "Is everything perfect?" And if the person answer, "Yes, everything is perfect," well, then he's in a cult. So that was, the Swedish government were teaching children. So anyway, they had an announcement on the meeting and told about this book, and then they said, so in the future, when people ask us, is everything perfect, we shall no longer answer, yes, everything is perfect. There was an announcement. And
Definitely not.
I went from Pimo and to the same evening realized that it's a cult. But that's a good question we should always ask. When did you realize you were Pimo? That's
I would like to speak to anyone who is still in the religion when the bunker videos came out. Was it 2016 or something? I would like to speak to someone who is still going, because I want to know when that assembly happened, when that awful video went up. It's laughable looking in it. But were people in that assembly, were they looking worried? Were they sort of like, what the hell? I'd like to know what the actual atmosphere was about. What were they talking about? How did they take it? Because I think for me that probably would have been a wake up moment. So I'd like to know how they reacted to that.
Yeah, it was a wake up moment for me. It's you excuse them all the time, and you used it, so you don't realize it's a cult. But I remember when I saw it was just embarrassing being a witness, because I was still a witness. I would identify as a witness. It's so cult. Anyway, we have a new cult member here. Welcome to the cult.
Hello. Hola.
Hello. So now we have a new question. We're going to try it out. When did you realize you were Pimo?
I think it was more within the Australia Royal Commission.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was in the audience for that horrible assembly. I think that was, to me, it was the worst assembly ever, the 2016 assembly, and I think that kind of snowballed my waking up. Especially one of those was that horrible video. I mean, everything was bad about that assembly, but I was still mentally in, but I was kind of borderline. But after the Australian Royal Commission, that was it.
What was first, Royal Australian or bunker?
For me, it was the assembly. I don't know what year was the Australian Royal Commission, but my brother, my youngest brother, he showed me the videos on some clips on the Australia Royal Commission, and that opened me. That made me gave me permission to start investigating other stuff.
Yeah.
So after that, I go ahead.
It's liberating to be able to look and research into things after so many years. You've been told, no, just believe, or there's something wrong with you. It's so nice and that's, sorry to interrupt you, but that was a real big, not wake up moment because I was already gone, but like I said earlier, that was a real good point where I just let go of the guilt and the anger when I started reading Russell's original books, because they're just absolute trite. The ramblings of a madman. And once I read that was when the foundation of what the truth or the lies was just fell away. And after that, all of the guilt and all of the pain and all of it just just went out the window then, because they had no more hold on me, because that little thing in the back of your mind about, oh, but it is the truth, it's just me not fitting in, that just goes, and then well, for me that was a freedom moment. But sorry to interrupt.
Oh yeah, it is. You feel completely free. And but after that, I read the Crisis of Conscience book, and that was when I completely woke up after Crisis of Conscience and learning the truth about 1975, 1925. Because what got me in to the cult was the fact that I was never going to die because of the 1914 generation. So when that went away, forget it. And then even me being completely in, when I heard this overlapping generation, I never accepted it. To me, it was like, yeah, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm still, my mind was still on 1914, because that overlapping generation never made sense to me.
No, of course it doesn't. It's nonsensical. That David Splane is an absolute joke. How can he go up there in front of 8 million people and make a fool of himself like that? One thing I noticed as well is there's no scriptural reference for any of that in there.
Yeah,
it's literally just their interpretation of nothing.
I spoke to Rolf Furuli, the guy, and okay, so I realized it's not a big deal for you because kind of Norway is small, but in Norway, it was like Jehovah Jesus Furuli. He was regarded like over Bethel, even if it was just overseer, and like he was the smart guy and everything. So anyway, I spoke to him, and he were defending the overlapping generation. And he kind of the asshole argument, he'd just say, well, if you knew Greek like I do, you would understand. And that's just stupid. Because the Bible, if God wrote the Bible and our life is depending on it, it should be able, just a retarded child should be able to understand it,
Exactly.
Yeah, but this is the thing, though. Why would God make something so cryptic that it takes them 2,000 years to work it out? Jesus came down with 2 principles, as far as I'm aware: love your neighbor like yourself, and love your God above all others. That to me is the overriding principle of Christianity. What I don't think happened was 2,000 years ago and 6,000 years before that, these Daniels, Isaiahs, and Ezekiels were all prophesying these things, thinking about Judge Rutherford a few hundred years from now.
Exactly.
Because that's what they're claiming. They're claiming that all these Bible writers we're talking about them. Are you familiar with Watchtower Examinations? Winston. I love watching his videos, but he says it so well on one of them where he says,
"Oh yes, I know
Samuel and David. They're not quite good enough to get into heaven, but Samuel had. He's going to get in." It's just when you say it like this, it just becomes so simple to understand.
Yes, and to me it was infuriating and disappointing. I had a lot of respect for this brother. His name is Charles Parkin, and he has a video on jw.org of he has like 60 years in the organization, and he's English, but he served in Puerto Rico most of his life, and now he's in the Dominican Republic. And in a circuit assembly, he comes up and goes to the platform, and that's when the first time we were announced about this overlapping generations things. But what bothered me was that he said the society never said anything about the generation being 1914. And I'm like, what? I have the book with me.
Sorry, repeat that. Who said what?
Yeah, no, it's not Charles. It's Ronald Parking. Is his name? Ronald Parking, circuit overseer. He used to be a district overseer back then, and he said, "Oh, the society has never said that the 1914 generation was going to be we're going to be alive, to see the end come." So, and then he presents this overlapping generation thing.
Sorry, it's just.
And I'm like, what? And I had the Live Forever book with me with the drawing, that little drawing that shows the little kid and the growing older until he's. And I had it with me, and that
Oh,
was so disappointing because I had a lot of respect for that man.
I think you're just spiritually weak for not listening to him properly. That's what it is.
Oh
You
yeah,
should have more faith.
to me, basically that moment is the earliest moment that I could see, that I could remember, that something started to click. Like, this is not right. And I was from the generation that they told us that we were never going to graduate from school. I didn't go to university because of that.
Yeah.
I never made a career. Now I'm 50, almost 50 years old, and now I'm back to school and working to try to make my future from starting from now.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
What are you studying?
IT.
IT. Oh, couldn't pick a better subject.
Oh yes.
Everyone needs IT.
Oh yeah. And I did have like a small short course that I did back in Puerto Rico in computer programming, but that was not Microsoft wasn't even existed back then. But I am so sorry I didn't make a career. I would have been a lot different right now.
Yeah, I think a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses had the potential to be a lot more if they weren't stifled and basically castrated in a career way, you know. But what's the point? What's the point in making a career? Armageddon is going to come any day now.
Yeah.
Why would you? Why would you? You know what I mean?
My wife and I never had kids because of that either.
Oh wow.
So we never had children. We never had a house. We never bought any type of property. All because I was so sure that 1914 generation was going to be here. But by the end, when they took away 1914 with this overlapping generation crap, I was like, oh God. Now what?
When you've been a witness a while and you start looking, you see before they turn the light, new light, they drop pointers before, and they say like, what about this question? Well, we can't answer that, but they put the question in your head, and then 1 year later they will say, oh, we got this new understanding. And when I noticed that was once at the convention, or something, we got some new understanding, and I thought, oh, I actually been thinking about this for a while, and I felt a bit proud, and I felt guilt for being proud, but I felt smart, and I am smart, so I thought, I'm smart, but I'm not going to tell anyone. But then some other people in the congregation said, I've been also been thinking about this for a while, and I was thinking, well, you're not smart. So we have been played. And then I went back, you see, and they give pointers of new light before it comes, so you get used to it. So that's, from a business perspective, it's obvious that's what you're going to do, but it's not honest, because if this would be like you get new light from Jehovah or Jesus or something like that, you should distribute it directly, because it's not yours to keep.
Mm-hmm.
It's not yours to be sitting on, and because then you're teaching false things in this period, you should just release it straight away. But anyway, I've seen the same pattern. They are giving away pointers about future light, and I'm not a mind reader, but for me it looks like they will move Jesus ruling to 1975. That will give them a lot of time, and they can also move the generation from 1914 to 1975.
That would be
that buys them another 50 years.
Yeah, I heard this like conspiracy theory that they might use 2034 as their new doomsday year, because of its 120 years after 1914, and it was 220 days that Noah spent in the ark.
I don't think
they will go into concrete numbers. They are.
I don't think they will either.
But think about 1975, because I've seen they've dropped hints already. So I'm not taking this out of thin air. They said that Satan was thrown down around 1914. So they didn't say he was thrown down 1914. He said around 1914.
Yes, around.
And stuff like that. And if you think about the whole idea with 1975 was that Jesus should start his reign in 1975.
The day which no man could
Yeah,
contain.
so
I'm waiting for the next thing. I'm curious on
1975, but in heaven,
the theory
14 to. So they say that Satan was thrown down in 1914, but Jesus started reigning in heaven
in 1975.
They will not use the word 1975. They will say in the late 70s because they learn to be
very cautious.
But then also Jehovah Witnesses can say, well, 1975. Yes, we did say 1975, and we're always 1975, and we still believe that.
They could say like, oh, in the 70s, and they know that the witnesses are going to say, oh, 1975, and they will be like, oh, we never said that. That was they assumed it, like they do many times.
Yeah, but if they now change the light and say that Jesus started ruling in heaven, because the whole idea with 1975 was the Sabbath, the king of the Sabbath should start ruling in heaven. So they could say that Jesus started ruling, but Armageddon will come close. You can just find anything. But the thing is, then the whole 75 fiasco will be saved, because they can still say that, Satan was thrown down in 1914, so they still can keep the First World War started by Satan.
Yes.
And they can say, well, we always said about 1975, If they would say now that we believe in 1975, and the Jehovah Witness knock at your door and you tell them that you said Armageddon would come in 1975, they would just flip like this and say, yes, we always said that. We still believe that. Have you seen our latest watchtower?
Because that's what they do with 1914, because Russia was prophesying the end of time in 1914, 1915. And then afterwards, no, the Gentile times have begun now. They switched it around. They kept the date, but switched it anyway. And if you're right, then that's what they'll do with 1975. Oh yeah, we've always taught that. You must be thinking of something different off an apostle.
Yeah.
So the theory that I find more credible about what might happen with Watchtower. It is just an out there theory, but they have said a couple of times about possibly the anointed ones being raptured. They've mentioned that a couple of times, which is never in when I was there. It's never. But it wouldn't surprise me if the governing body will find themselves raptured off to some beautiful Caribbean island.
Oh, I've heard that one.
Yeah,
I heard that one, and I would not be surprised.
Not at all.
Yeah, I believe there is a theory that the Scientology leader, that's what he did.
Yeah, well, if you've got lots of money and you want to be hidden away from everyone who knows you, that's a good thing to do, I suppose.
That will be really cool, that they will just go ahead and be raptured and and then a couple of years later somebody finds them and posts this on YouTube like, oh, I found them, they're over there in the Caribbean. Hanging out with Tony.
They weren't raptured, they're just taking the vacation. We always said they're taking the vacation. If you
drinking some whiskey.
Yeah, the Callums, loving it.
I first have to say thanks to Smells Like Free Spirit. But then we were talking, so we tried to stay on the Pimo, Pomo spectrum here. So, but you asked about how did people react in the convention hall when they saw the bunkers video, and you were there. So please tell. So I know. So we all know the crazy witnesses. They were like, but other people.
My brother was
awkward.
My brother was there, but he was already out, so he was pissed off about that. Now the brothers, I was curious on what they were talk about it, but they didn't even really talk about it. It scared them. They were mostly, you could feel like there was fear, and the few that will just talk, even mention it, they will say like, did you see that last video on the bunker? Wasn't that impressive? But they would not openly talk about it. At least the ones that were in my congregation, that was basically ignored. It to me, it just scared them into not even mentioning it too much.
Yeah, well, it's scary if you think it's going to happen soon.
Yeah, but I didn't see any brothers going like, "Oh, look!" Oh, they were like excited. Maybe in some other congregation they had that reaction, but I'm in Dallas, Texas congregation, so it's not these small communities. It's a big city, and so I don't know if that meant there's a different mentality within the brothers, but the ones that I spoke to, they would mention it like something scary, and that's it. Not excited at all.
The picture that made me laugh even more than the bunker videos. Have you seen the one where it's like, underneath the White House, they've got that situation room or whatever with all the TVs on the wall? There's a picture of all the army generals stood around pointing at piles of watchtowers, and like Tony Morris on the TV behind him. How arrogant are you that you think all the mob leaders are going to be doing this?
I was already out by then. When that watchtower came out, I was already I saw that watchtower on the YouTube videos because I was out already. I'm like, nah, I'm out of here.
Taxi. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So
they think they're going to come after him like Anne Frank. I don't. Where do they get this from?
And the thing is that one thing came after the other, because it was that assembly. It was also the annual meeting with the tight pants talk. That I was there. That's when they presented the new Bible. And no, that was not when they presented the new Bible. That was afterwards. And but I was with that one, and I was so disappointed with that annual meeting. It was more like a local needs for Bethel, and we were all in it. And they were talking about things that they should not have been talking for the entire world to hear. Like Samuel Hurd, he was criticizing the Bethelites for being late at the meetings in the morning, and I was like, that's just like a local needs thing. We shouldn't be listening to that. That's not encouraging at all. And then came out all this child abuse things that just poured out. And 2 years, like 1 or 2 years ago, then all these activist videos started coming from everywhere. And all of that just I just kept on listening to videos and doing my own research. I was out. There's no way. I was not mentally in, physically out for maybe 2 weeks. As soon as it clicked to me that this is not the truth, this is a complete lie, in 1 or 2 weeks I was out.
Yeah, the final straw for me before I actually started my own little channel was someone sent me a link to the Watchtower tax return, the Henrietta M. Riley Fund, and all the nasty stuff the Watchtower's invested in, or a company's invested in on their behalf.
Oh yeah,
potatoes. That's when I started doing my car crashes and just showing them the actual tax return and saying, look at what your money is doing. Do you know what he said to me? That was my first ever car crash. That was. I went back and did a return visit on him, and he says, no, I think you may have got that off an apostate site, and I think you're very naive for believing that. I'm like, sorry, I've got a tax return. You're believing what the elders have told you, and I'm the naive one. Well, that's just wonderful, buddy. It's an uphill struggle from there,
Yes, I try to stay like doing fading thing, but it didn't last too long. That I just wanted to say something. That's when I agreed to do the interview with John Leder and the XJW Analyzer channel. And I did it thinking that video was not going to be seen by anybody. I said, like, okay, I'm just going to do the video. I'll do the interview. And when some of my friends or family members do their own investigation, when they're trying to wake up, they might stumble upon it. And then they will try to communicate with me, and we'll go like secretly go ahead and talk about it. And I could help more people that I actually do know to get out. But to my surprise, that video just blew up. The Spanish version of the video, not the English one, the Spanish version. And in 1 weekend, we lost all our friends and all our family. Every single person. And I'm not this fellowship, by the way.
No, technically I'm not. Although I am an apostate.
Yeah, the elders came after me. They were pounding on my door at 10 o'clock at night, yelling my name, open the door. And we just kept hiding, and then they did and we knew when they were going to start coming because it coincided with each visit from the circuit overseer.
Yeah.
Every 6 months they were coming after us. And then they did the certified letters, which we just sent back saying that the person that they're trying to address doesn't live there anymore. So they never were able to get me, and I just didn't want them to give them the satisfaction of announcing my name from the platform. And we moved, so now they don't even know where we are.
Good.
Yeah.
But it was hard especially for my wife. She had a very bad nervous breakdown because of all the messages that she got from her family calling her the daughter of Satan, and it was horrible, bad. But then I remember that was our last meeting. She just looked at me and she says, "Do you believe this is the truth?" And I said, "No, I don't believe this is the truth anymore." So she started crying. And she went into the bathroom and she was crying there. And I opened up. I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "Well, you're not going to go to the meetings anymore." And so, and I said, "No, well, let's go to the meetings. I mean, I am out mentally, but as long as you want me to go to the meetings, I'll go to the meetings with you." And she said, "No, but if you don't believe anymore," I said, I'm not going to let this religion destroy our marriage, our marriage, period. So I said, "Get ready." And I got ready and she got ready. We went to the meetings. That was the last meeting we ever went to. She decided that she didn't want to go back after that. And it was her decision because I spoke with her. I told her, and what woke her up was the child abuse cases. When I showed her everything, she said, "No, God is not in that organization." We never went back.
I don't think there's anything, although it's a horrible thing, I don't think there's anything better than the ARC for waking people up that truly believe
Mm-hmm.
that it's somewhere deep down that it must be God's organization, because there's no way that happens in God's house. It's that simple.
And I tried to get her to watch some YouTube videos, but it was not her thing. It was not her thing. She the only channel that she would watch was Stop the Shunning back then. Goat like, because anything that will make her laugh, she's in. And Jay the Comedian. That's the only thing she would watch. So I would put like the goat like videos, especially when the goats are running all over the place. She loves animals, so she would get into it and say, "Look, check out this video." But besides those three channels, she still doesn't watch YouTube. It's too painful for her.
I'm glad to hear that. And I'm glad to hear you left both. The biggest mistake of my life was when I woke up. I did not wake up my wife, because I spent my whole life trying to tell other people what to believe, and I finally think I don't need to do that. I should have woken her up when her mind was sane. She got sick. It's not her fault.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
It is.
They pressured her, and she was really sick, and she had delusions. I feel so sorry for her. It's not her fault, but and they were pressuring her for years to leave me. And in the end, she left me with the words, "I love you, but I love them more." And the last thing I heard from her, she told someone else, "I had to leave him because I was not allowed to go to the meetings." She went to all the meetings she wanted. It was the elders. When she came to the meetings, they would encourage her and tell her. I remember when so I don't want to say anything negative about her. I hate the governing body, but not her. She's a wonderful person, but she was very sick. But I remember she came home from the meetings and I said, "Hello," and she said, "Stop persecuting me." Was the meeting nice? Yes, the elders have been encouraging me, so she stayed 1 hour extra, and they showed me how to survive persecution from family members.
Wow.
Yeah, and she lived with that for years until she left me, and it's really sad because we were good together.
Well, it is sad.
She married someone else and was disfellowshipped for that.
Oh wow.
They really tell you who to love and who not to love.
Mm-hmm.
They don't.
But my wife's family tried to get her to leave me and move back to Puerto Rico.
Yep.
But
My
she said
parents
no.
tried to get her to leave me too.
And it is really, really sad when, but the thing is that my wife and I, we went through a lot of stuff against the elders, and so it was easier to wake up when because all this time I always separated the elders and even the governing body from the organization. It's like, oh, we would even pray to Jehovah to that this current governing body will be all like disfellowshipped, and we got new the people that will do the right thing. But crisis of conscience is the one that showed me like it's not. It is them. This is just a business. This is
Yeah.
just a business. It's not the organization, and these people are just like the Bible says that these kings that they deviated from Jehovah's worship, and it's not like that. This is a business, and they're corrupt right from the top.
There's a passage of the Bible that they will repeat ad nauseum. Is it Matthew 24 where it talks about the end of days? But the hard times to deal with, all that stuff. The thing that they don't, just to link into your last point there, the thing that they don't usually read out on that one is the first part of that passage, which says, "In the last days there'll be many people claiming to be Christ." If you actually look at the Greek word there, it's Christos. It doesn't translate. It's acceptable to take it as Christ, but the literal translation is anointed one. So that passage actually reads, "Be careful, because in the last days there will be many people claiming to be anointed ones, trying to lead you astray." Do not.
Yeah.
It's just so
Yeah.
It's fun when you leave and you just look at the ridiculous doctrine and you just dress them with normal words. Like if you have to explain to someone about the 144,000, who partakes from the emblems, and you just explain it with normal language. Well, if someone, what do Jehovah Witnesses believe about those who take the emblems? Well, Jehovah Witnesses believe that they are mentally disturbed or leaders that cannot be questioned.
Exactly.
You're not even allowed to ask the governing body how they know they're anointed, because that would be a severe lack of faith.
Oh no, say whatever you want about God or Jehovah, but do not dare say anything about the governing body.
Yeah.
You could say you don't believe in Jehovah, and they would sit down and say, "Oh, why are you saying that? Oh, let's sit down, let's talk." But if you say, "I don't believe in the governing body," they'll be like, "Oh, how dare you say something like that, you apostate."
Avert your gaze, children. He may take on other forms.
Okay, I have some question for you, because so I grew up in Sweden. So every time a governing body member was talking, there was someone translating, and maybe the same in Spanish congregations of Puerto Rico.
Yes.
But anyway, Watchtower is a printing religion, So the most religious and spiritual experience you can have in a Jehovah Witness religion is when someone do this and say, "We got a new book."
Yeah.
We got a new book, 32 pages. That's a spiritual thing, Ooh, four printed 4 colors, 32 pages. But when they do that, and it's a governing body member presenting it, everyone applauds except the guy holding the book, because he can't applaud with one hand. And the guy translating, he will be standing like this, gold applause,
Yeah.
looking at the audience. But if you've seen in the broadcasting now, and remember, this is orchestrated. So when the governing body member is holding up a book, the guy who's translating has to turn like this and applaud this way. Look, like this, looking at the governing body member.
Yes.
That's so creepy.
Yes.
Might call that
word.
To him.
Yeah, they have to turn to the governing body member, and we would have called that false worship back in the day.
Yeah. 100%.
Definitely. And I've got a lot of message of people like asking me like, "Oh, how did you help your wife get out?" Or because they have family members that are in it. I said, you cannot make anybody get out. I just talked to her, and in her case, I just mentioned she has her niece and her nephew. She loves them to death, and I said, "What would you do if they were sexually molested in the congregation?" And the elders will say, "You cannot do anything about it, or you will be disfellowship." And she said, "Yep, you're right." That was it. And another thing was watching because she didn't, as I said, she didn't want to watch any videos. But I put on the Leah Remini Scientology aftermath. But from episode 1 that they're talking about Scientology, they're not talking about the witnesses. But I put it on because it sounds just like they were talking about the witnesses. So that had kind of helped her also move into that mental state of this is the truth, and to like, no, this is the lie. So it all depends on the person. And
I think different things wake different people up as well. For
yes,
some people, it will be the fake doctrines. For some people, it'll be the false prophecies or the change in light or whatever. For some people, it'll be the child abuse. For some people, it'll be the kingdom rules. I think there's a different key for every lock. But once you take away any brick from the tower, the whole thing just falls over. Because if one part of it's not right, the whole thing's not right. That's the only way you can excuse it as a whole, is by saying it's God's organization and this is the way he wants it. As soon as that's not right, then it all falls apart.
My big shame is that I was Pimo for 14 years. I first thought about leaving and stuff like that when all the shit happens to someone close to me. When it happened to other people I knew and all, people were treated bad. I didn't believe myself, and I would just tell them, just stay in the organization, Even if I knew all the shit that happened to them, I was okay with it as long as it happened to them. And also, obviously, I didn't want to lose my friends because even if you don't shun this fellowship, people will lose them in real life, So
I shunned my oldest sister.
Something I'm not proud of. I'm okay with Watchtower treating other people bad, but when it happened to me and my wife, that's when I. So that's something I'm a bit ashamed of.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody acts differently, but it's human to protect yourself.
Yeah.
So if you thought that was you're protecting yourself and your wife, that's just human. It's normal. But the good thing is that eventually, 14 years is a long time to be in a place that you are mentally out, but still, at least you got out. And even when I was in the year that I was completely out, but not, I had stopped going to the meetings, but the people that I knew from like Puerto Rico, they didn't know that. So I did meet with them a few times, and I will throw hints here and there. So, but that's all you can do. You cannot force anybody to say like, oh, that you're in a cult, right? That will just shut them down.
Yeah, the walls go up.
Oh yeah. I mean, even when I started watching videos, the first channel I watched was Fifth channel, and I would watch his interviews because they were completely neutral. Now, and I started watching the John Cedars channel, but I stumbled upon one of his episodes or one of his videos that he used the word cult. As soon as I heard that word cult come up, I stopped watching his videos. So I would only watch interviews that he made, especially anything that had to do with 1975 or anything to do with ex-Bethelites, because I was an ex-Bethelite in Puerto Rico. So I was really interested in learning about anything that anybody would say who wasn't Bethel or anything about 1975, because I really believed that the story, that the lie that they said about that was a misunderstanding. So the more I investigated and I learned that 1975 was a real thing, that they really made people believe that it was the end of times, I'll forget it. That was part of my awakening.
Sorry to change the subject very slightly, but you said you were at Bethel. You worked in Bethel. Is there as many homosexual parties and drinks in Bethel as we're led to believe?
Oh, I know that Jonah has a lot of good stories on that side. But when I was in Puerto Rico, there was no drinking whatsoever. It was a good experience, actually. I mean, I did see the ugly side and the aspect that I could see that they were human, and how I thought it was going to be all like peaches and cream. And no, there's a lot of bickering and a lot of infighting. But I didn't see anything about homosexuality or the drinking. But the Bethel in Puerto Rico is a small one, so I think that maybe that will make a difference. But I know that Jonah said no has some stories about the drinking over there.
Well, yeah, I always thought that, you know, being a witness, that everyone in Bethel's walking around like a monk, and, you know, like very quiet.
That's what I thought.
Corridors. Yeah, that's what you think. But you come out and you watch. There's multiple different ones saying about all these random things that were happening. They were always having special needs on not flirting with other members and that. Like
Yeah.
it's just supposed to be God's house, and you just imagine them doing it a certain way, you know.
But I do know that I did hear stories from Brooklyn though while I was in Bethel, like suicides and stuff. But it was from Brooklyn.
Yeah. But the gay thing, you know, imagine if I would say, even though I've never been on Bethel, if you just think about the normal demographic, you know, like a salesman or anything, what motivates people, you'd realize that there's a lot of gay people on Bethel. Because think about it now, a young man struggling with impure feelings, you know, and he thinks that this is a thorn in the flesh, something that can be fixed, something, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
where can you really be close to Jehovah's Spirit? Where can you feel the Spirit, you know?
In his
Bethel.
house in Bethel.
Yeah.
So there will be, or if you are a believing gay Jehovah Witness, there will be like the answer of all your prayers to go to Bethel, and you will go there. So that means that every time you have a new shipment of, you know, fresh meat to Bethel, there will be there will be a significant higher amount of gay people
Mm-hmm.
because they are motivated. First, and you're a salesman, so you understand the motivation. No, the motivation by maybe God will fix this. You know, because you believe that, you know, I've been on Bethel and I thought there was something, because I used to be sometimes horny, and I thought there was something physically wrong with me, because how can this happen to me on Bethel?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that you put all those people in that place, and then you tell them they're not allowed to masturbate. I mean, that's going to cause some serious
Yeah,
sexual.
but that has to
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
if I was in there for 4 years under those sort of rules, I'd be looking to anything on the pulse. 4 years
Yeah.
down the line, I'll take anything.
yeah, but just stick to the fulfill my idea here, my theory. So if you're a believing gay person, you go to Bethel maybe to fix the problem. But then also you might be motivated, if you're a gay person, you know, and all your aunts and mothers and sisters say, "Why don't you meet a nice sister?" Well, then it's really easy to say, "Well, my goal is to go to Bethel." So there's two strong motivations for gay people to go to Bethel. Why for a heterosexual guy it's kind of maybe the opposite, you know, all these sisters, why should I go to Bethel? I can stay here, you know, or
Exactly.
so when it's a place and you get a big demographic like Brooklyn, and every time there comes a new shipload of young brothers, there will be a higher amount of gay people than the normal demographic. And then you take it the other way. When people leave Bethel, why do young people leave Bethel? Because they get married. So the people who stay, yet again, have a much higher
Mm-hmm.
percentage of gay people. And that means that obviously we're not homophobes. That's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about the demographics here.
Yeah.
What motivates people to go to Bethel? Well, there are two things that really motivate a young gay Jehovah Witness. And then what motivates people to leave? Well, it's normally a heterosexual marriage. So you
Mm-hmm.
get a lot of gay people accumulating there.
Yeah. And I found weird.
Sort of thing with all the weird, because Bethel had their own culture there in many ways, like things that really sounds weird, like you can adopt someone, You have this couple. They talk about it as adopting. But there's a couple living on Bethel, and they have no children on their own, and they use the term adopting. And you can see here they sometimes use it as speeches. So me and my wife, if we were in Bethel, we maybe would adopt Daniel, and we would
Yes,
kind of treat him like our child.
I remember that term.
You're not allowed to have a pet. You're not allowed to have a child. So we would adopt him, and they use the term adopt someone. And I
Yeah.
think you hear it on the Pillowgate videos also.
I've actually played that to Jehovah's Witnesses on the street.
I was surprised.
In the video, it's funny.
I was surprised with that, but because that's not the video that I got in Puerto Rico. Although that video didn't exist back then. We got a video that was exactly like when you enter a company. It like these videos that they're talking about the company, and it's just so business oriented.
Yeah.
So yeah, that it was. I was just watching a IBM or advertising or commercial or something. That was the video that we got when I started in Puerto Rico. But one of the things that I found weird was in the application, when you fill it, there's a question that says, do you have homosexual tendencies?
Yeah.
Yes or no. Have you had any homosexual activity in the last 5 years? If so, describe them here.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's all on the application. And I'm like, okay, no, but I found it weird.
I remember that because I was applying. I never been afraid of Armageddon. I was afraid of Bethel. I never wanted to go to Bethel, but I wanted to apply because you should do everything for Jehovah. Blah blah blah. So I applied, and then I came to that question about homosexuality. And first, I just realized they have this here for a reason. You know, this happened before. They invite people and say, okay, you're going to stay with Daniel.
Yeah.
And both of them thinking, oh, finally I get rid of my homosexual feelings. So for me, it was also a waking up thing. I say, okay, I don't have to, I'm not writing this to God. God knows the answer to all these questions. This is a letter to human beings.
But hell, if I'm reporting my hours every month, why wouldn't I write this down?
If Jehovah wants me to go to Bethel, I will go there without applying. And I actually done that 4 times. I've been to Bethel 4 times without applying. Filling in the form, I think. So,
I mean, there were different weird things in the application, including that you had to write your race and the color of your skin. So there were some things that I was like, why are they asking this?
Are they even allowed to ask those questions?
No. Yeah, they're allowed to ask, but they're not allowed to gather the information. Oh, that's really illegal. But it's not the first time they do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
You were in Bethel of Russia, right?
Yeah, but I never been a Bethelite.
Oh, okay. So you just worked there.
Yes, I was working with construction. I came there I basically crashed it. I've been on the Norwegian Bethel working as a sheet metal worker, but never a Bethelite. But the Norwegian Bethel was actually a very nice place for a Bethel. It was a beautiful place. There were kind of nice people, kind of laid back, you know. And then I've been on, I say 4 Bethels. Am I lying? Yeah, I was only 2 days on the Finnish Bethel. But that was hell, complete hell. It was really bad.
Wow.
You know, when witnesses really are harassing each other, like, don't stand there because it seems like you're contemplating to maybe doing something in the future that you're technically allowed to do, but we don't do anyway. You know, when they're kind of really harassing each other. That's the way the Finnish Bethel. I dreamt nightmares about Finnish Bethel. Okay, so you should say, so when you go to Bethel to eat and the dinner, you have assigned seats. So when you're not Bethelites, you have to wait and they will show you a seat. So you should come early and to be standing there with a critical smile and wait for some to be seated. And then you're not allowed to run in the hallways. You should stroll with a theocratic smile. And you're not allowed, and it was like 40 degrees hot. I was working in the roof as a sheet metal worker. That's incredibly hot. So, and they said I was allowed to leave my working station 5 minutes before 12. That's when I was.
This sounds like a mixture of school and prison.
Wow.
5 minutes before 12, I was supposed to pick all my tools together, stroll nicely to the shower, take a shower, put in a clean shirt, stroll to the embedder early in 5 minutes. And
Wow.
everywhere someone was like giving you the stink eye that he's moving too fast, he's looking too sweaty, why is his cheek so warm? You know,
Wow. Yeah.
it was just terror. And I remember, and then you always have to say that everything is nice on battle. You have to, oh, it's so nice on battle, it's good witness. I remember I was talking in the sleep, like in desperation, in English actually, saying, this is a nice place, this is a nice place, this is a nice place, this is a very nice place.
Yep.
I am happy here. I am happy here. I am
Yeah,
happy
you are allowed to say only the good, never the bad, and you
Yeah.
just roll. You just roll with it.
It was complete hell. I was there for 2 days, and everyone was spying on everyone, and it's not like anyone was doing something wrong, but you should stroll through and when I came back after lunch, what did I see? I saw a guy be standing looking at my tools through my toolbox, that everything was nice and orderly. Try to picture this. I'm working and I'm leaving for lunch and coming back. What would it matter if the tools were not in order while I was eating lunch? It's my tools. I'm working alone on the roof and no one can see me. But someone was up before work started again, just checking that the tools were lying straight. My own tools on the roof where I'm working alone. It was complete hell on the Finnish battle, but just to make both case of the story, like the Norwegian battle was very laid back, and basically they just said, we bring food, because I was working the same, dirty old me. And they said, we just bring food out to you, and we were sitting there, the cleaning lady, cleaning sister, and some other blue collar people, and we were just eating and cutting out most of the religious bullshit and just having a nice time. So the Norwegian battle was nice. And then I was on, they have a secret battle in Norway, basically a sweatshop where we make stuff and sold, and Watchtower got the money. And yeah.
So it's like his little JW badges and that, yeah.
No, it's really weird. I just it's a long story. I got to make a video about that. But basically, Watchtower had a sawmill for producing lumber for building Bethel, and then that was on the property for Bethel, and it looks like his sawmill. It wasn't pretty, and Henschel said that's gonna go away. So, but instead of getting rid of it, they just moved it away and were running a sawmill for decades. And I was offered to work there, and they said this is Bethel, and we have Bethel standards. But they've been running it for decades, and without Watchtower knowing about it. So there were no discipline anymore. So we were doing morning worship in our long johns. And the morning worship was kind of fun. We were just reading the text, and instead of making comments, we would the Bethel elder, he would just read it, and we should guess which scripture it was. So you get 1 point for getting if it was the New or the Old Testament, 1 point for the right book, 1 point for the right chapter, and 1 for the right verse. So if you're good, you get 4 points. But it's actually very difficult to get average on above 3, because so that was very laid back. But I remember asking them when you do, because they said this is material for Kingdom Halls. So if you're going to build a Kingdom Hall, you have a list of all the material you need, different fractions, and then you cut out the forest, and you cut the length you need, and and then you cut up all the sizes. And we were just making 2 by 8, 2 by 8, 2 by 8, 2 by 8, and we don't really used 2x8 when we built Kingdom Halls. And then I asked about this, and they said, "Well, they give us the most profit." So they were just.
Wow.
So I was working full time for Watchtower, and we're making 2x8s, and they were selling it.
Wow. And
used in
which
prison,
Bethel was
you get-
this?
Well, they closed it down without telling anyone, but it was. It was. Yeah, I'm gonna make a show about that video, but that's really. I actually, when I wanted some what do you call it, some advertisement, I told Cedar I worked at the secret Norwegian Bethel, and he never wanted to do anything about it. So that's actually a funny story that we had an extra Bethel where we were just making stuff and selling for cash.
Wow. Yeah, you got to make a video on that.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
I
And
told
I'm
Cedar
not
several
surprised at
times
all.
he has a bigger audience.
Yeah.
He didn't want to do anything about it, so he got his chance.
Yeah.
But that's really weird.
It is. You know, I almost worked at I applied to work in the Russian Bethel.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and I was almost there, but they answered back to the circuit overseer who was trying to get me in, and they said that they were only looking for people that already knew Russian, the language. So I was out. I had to stay in Bethel, Puerto Rico back then.
Okay, what year was that?
It was in the 90s. I would say early 90s.
Early 90s.
I would say early 90s. It should have been.
Let's see. I moved to Norway in 95, 94. Yeah, they started early 90s. I think I was there 97 or 90, 97, 96 I was there. 96 or 97. Anyway, I was actually working the Spanish field when I was in Russia.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
there was a Spanish, yeah, you know what we do. So we were looking for Spanish people starting Bible stuff. It's actually, that's kind of okay, so there's a lot of stupid things you do when you're in the cult. But one of the things I really regret was that I was in Russia and I worked every day. You know, we
Wow.
worked long days on Bethel, much longer than normal Bethel. And then it was mandatory to go to all the meetings and some extra meetings. And some of them were Russian. And, you know, I'm good. Well, I speak Russian now, but I didn't do it then. So you work long days and then you go home, put on a shirt and a tie, and you have to go back and sit a long meetings in Russian in addition to the English or Scandinavian meetings. And then in the weekends, we go in field service all day, and I didn't see anything.
Wow.
And then I was sent home, and it was really, really unfair what they did, you know. And you know, I was almost suicidal. Well, I was suicidal. It was terrible. I was depressed a long time after. But you know, still, I went to work every day. They say, you know, they told me, you know, we want you to leave, and there's a car going on, yeah, a few days from now, you know.
Wow.
So what I could have done was just say, you know, okay, then I have 4 days just as a tourist.
Yeah,
I could-
sightseeing.
Yeah, I can just wander around Russia because it was basically free. The prices were very low, and we had a working visa, not a tourist
Okay.
visa. So any attractions, you know, they used to have different prices for tourists and Russians.
Okay.
I would go in with the Russian prices, and still, you know, communists normally like culture, so they still had a system that, you know, the government heavily funded opera and circuses and everything like that. So going to any cultural event cost next to nothing, you know, nickels
Okay.
and pennies, you know.
You got to go back there someday.
Yeah, but instead I went working all the days,
Yeah.
thinking about hanging myself.
I hear you.
And that's one of the, okay, so all the stupid thing, you know, but you know, there's some things that sticks out that was really stupid. And for me, those last 4 days, why didn't I just go out and enjoy life? I'm not talking about drugs and fornication and all the funny stuff, I'm just
Yeah.
talking about walk the streets and look at buildings. Why didn't I do that? That's we were working. Yeah, I remember I had, they worked us so hard. When you describe it to other people, they just say it's a cult. I said, no, it's not a cult. It's Bethel. It's normal to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week.
But what you've just said encapsulates Jehovah's Witnesses precisely. They're waiting for this mythical Armageddon and paradise, and they're missing the paradise that they're in right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Take your son to the river. That's paradise.
Oh yeah. I've heard many times the witnesses, we'll have more than enough time to do this or that in paradise.
But you're missing the paradise right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how they maintain you under control.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of. Go ahead.
Just a story about Russia. These Corona days. Watchtower thinks the best of Corona now, because I started. I'm actually the kind of person. I'm never sick. I always feel good, But I started feeling bad, and I had a flu or something like that, and. So I went to the nurse and said, I'm feeling terrible. I have to stop working. And the Watchtower nurse, she was Swedish, by the way, she said, doesn't matter if you're sick. You have to work even if you're sick. There's a lot of people that has the flu now, and you think you should stop working just because you have the flu. And then she said, remember, she's a nurse. I have the flu, and I'm still working.
Oh my God!
The company nurse has the flu.
Exactly. You know what? That reminds me of this circuit overseer. What was that?
It's no wonder everyone had the flu. The nurse.
Exactly. The nurse has the flu. Everybody's going to catch the flu. But that reminds me, the circuit overseer in Puerto Rico, I was in the English congregation back then. And the congregation was mostly of elderly people. They were very old people. They were sick. They had to be driven around everywhere. And all of a sudden, we had this visit of the circuit overseer, and a couple of the brothers were sick, so they couldn't come home, and some of them were bedridden. And he goes up to the platform and he says, "Oh, I noticed that some people are not in the meeting, and they have been missing meetings, and their excuse is that they're sick." And he picks up the Bible and says, "Show me anybody here. Where in the Bible does it say that being sick is an excuse to miss meetings?"
Well, they'd have to mention meetings in the Bible for that to be applicable in the first place.
And and that was the circuit overseer. I was so angry. I mean, well, nobody liked this guy, and he was a young person. Nobody liked him. And you know that usually many congregations would throw him a party. Sorry?
He sounds like me when I was true believing. I was.
Yeah. So, but the thing is that when they usually throw a party, like a little get together to when after the 2 years or 3 years that they are in the congregation, so that when they get assigned to another circuit, when it was his turn, nobody in our congregation, they didn't throw a party, they didn't do a gathering or anything. They just was happy that he left, that he was assigned to another place.
Oh, you're unpopular when you're an overseer and you still don't get a party.
Exactly, and people, and it got to the point that elders had to basically reprimand the brothers from the platform because when nobody wanted to cook for him lunch during that week.
If a circuit overseer came to our kingdom hall, people were falling over themselves to lay palm leaves in front of him as he was walking.
Yeah, exactly. That's usually what you get. But this guy, then nobody liked him.
Not everyone is popular. We had one like that in Sweden, and no one liked him. And I kind of respect him because he must have known that no one liked him, and he was still doing his thing. Wow. So there's some kind of respect for that. But he was a weirdo.
Wow.
Well, I tell you what, it makes you think, because you think back and you think of people in the positions like circuit overseers, elders, all that sort of. And you think, well, they're good people underneath it all, and they're doing it for the right reasons. But after just recently, you're thinking, well, it doesn't matter how good you think these people are. How many blue envelopes did they send off?
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing that comes back to me, because I used to remember thinking,
Yeah.
oh, these are such good people and they're helping out, and they may have been, but for me that just blocks their ink book completely.
Yeah, exactly. I have one of my best friends growing up as a witness. He's gay, and he's a closet homosexual. He never came out, but and he never got married either. And he went up the ranks until he was a circuit overseer. And I'm gonna say, he's not a good person. He's one of these people that will like very judgmental, and he will talk to people, and people will end up more depressed than they were before.
Yeah.
And I know that he already knows about me leaving the organization, but I really do hope that someday I may be able to talk to him and tell him exactly what I think about his work, because afterwards is when I learned about all this child abuse cases, and he being a circuit overseer, he had to had a lot of information on that. And it's like, how can you continue to be inside this organization and serve as a circuit overseer or in any capacity after you learn about the child abuse cases that are being covered up by this organization? That's just completely messed up.
Yep. I mean, you can not forgive, but you can understand it from a publisher's point of view, because they have no idea what's going on. All they know is that someone has left the congregation. That's all they're told, you know. But as soon as you go above ministerial servant, that's when people, in my opinion, are culpable and collaborating with it.
Yeah. And somebody wrote there, thought police. Yes, that's one of the things that they came after me, the elders, because they wanted to ask me about what I was thinking. That was the last time I spoke to an elder. And it was because I thought it was my brother who was knocking on the door. So as I opened the door, and there were two elders saying like, "Oh, we need to talk to you." And I'm like, "Oh, I cannot talk to you." And I was on the phone with my wife, so I know I'm on my way out, which was not true. I said, "No, I'm on my way out. I cannot talk to you right now. We have to reschedule." And I said, "No, let's take this 15 minutes because we just want to verify what you are thinking."
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I said, "No, we got to reschedule," which never happened.
Just going to show you something quickly. Do you know that when you're having these talks with elders and stuff, they are grading you?
Yeah.
I'm going to show you something now. This is it's been covered up, so you can't actually see the name on it. She's asked me not to show the name, but this is off a GDPR request. I don't know if you can see it. You're not
We can't see anything.
Okay,
The light is getting brighter.
I'll read it out to you very quickly. It's quite short, but this is on the bottom of the Freedom of Information request from the London Bethel, and this is just for a publisher, remember. Do you recommend that he be trained for this special public witnessing program? Yes. Rating for dignified personal appearance. She got B, B, and B. Rating for dependable and organized, B, B, and B. Rating for balance in judgment and discernment, A, B, and B. And rating for, I don't get this one, rating for physical stamina, B, B, and B. Now, I've never heard anything about people being graded before, but if you send off the GDR report, I know this person very, very well. If I've seen the actual form from Watchtower in the Ridgeway or wherever it's from, they're grading you. So when they're asking you these questions about your mental attitude towards, like you just said about these things, that's all going down on a little tick sheet about how it's incredible the amount of control and the amount of information they have about people. That really spun me out. I've got to do a video myself on this because I'd never heard anything like that before, but it's absolutely mental. And I think a lot of people would be surprised when they find out that they're being graded.
Yeah. So back to the Pimo to Pomo spectrum. You're going to school, Efren?
You mean university?
Yeah, that's a school.
No, I just went to I went high school, like, I graduated from high school, but I never went to higher education.
But I thought you were in school now.
You're redoing your IT.
Oh, no, now. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't understand the question. Yes, I'm back at school studying IT.
Pomo school.
Yeah. So what I do I'm taking school online. Right, it has to be online right now because of the coronavirus thing.
Mm.
So yeah, so I'm back at school. I'm trying to get IT certified in Cisco. That's those they call the CCNA, and also programming in Python.
What's that in Norwegian?
Is that not programming for things like apps and stuff?
It's something. Have you heard Java?
Yeah, JavaScript.
So
yeah.
it's Python is I think it's taking over Java. So it's just to write scripts and programming. So that's what I'm doing right now, just getting that trying to get certified in networking and learning the Python, which is the
Is that similar
writing
to C++?
scripts.
And before
No.
that, you were a window cleaner like the rest of us?
Kinda, because I had I had my own business with my wife in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
So, and it was selling candy, you know, the vending machines.
Okay.
So, so I worked on my own, but it was basically the same thing, because it just you just make enough money to get by, and you're not paying any taxes or you're not getting anything for your retirement. Uh, so it was basically the same thing. The thing is, in Puerto Rico, the economy went so bad that we were forced to move. That's when I moved into Dallas, Texas, with my brother, who is now an elder, and he serves in Chile. So we moved into there, but he and his wife threw us out because we were not spiritual enough to live with them.
Yeah, that's loving.
But yeah, right. But right now, my wife works at the United States Postal Service. I work with a big company that works with Medicare products. That's like the government health insurance. So I work with there, and I'm doing the studying. So I'm doing more now that I've done in 32 years. I was a witness.
Well done.
Yeah.
And even though we're very busy, we still feel that we have more time than ever. Because as soon as you leave that organization, it's like you feel free. Your weekends are yours. You don't have to be thinking about studying or raising your hand to participate in a meeting or giving some part in the school or having to preach during the weekends. So, I mean, even with work and school, I still have more time than when I was at a witness.
Yeah. At least get to desk. Shall we give the? It's getting late here, but I thought we could. Should I give the link just to everyone? So if someone wants to come on, they can.
Yeah.
So.
Someone asking, what is your channel, Dan? I don't have a channel. I just did an interview with XJW Analyzer, so I don't have a YouTube channel.
My channel's Brick by Brick.
Yeah, it's about Legos.
No, because you'll come up with the other one. No, brick by brick. But if you type in JW Car Crash UK, I've got a few of them up there.
Yeah, you basically write something about JW. Otherwise, if you just write brick by brick, you get 1 million Lego hits.
Yeah, I thought it was a really clever name when I made it, and I can't be bothered to change it now. So,
and I found Jonah's channel. Go like through the Lego channel. Kevin McFree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin McFree, genius, absolute.
Yeah, where's Kevin McFree? We want Kevin.
Yes, I emailed him because we used to email each other, but he hasn't responded yet. But he had the video talking about Goat Likes video on the bucket. Wow.
Yeah.
Apostasy.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Apostasy.
It's a loving arrangement. I tell you,
favorite video.
The first video I ever saw of Goat Like of Jonas, he comes on and says, "Well, I've just had an email that there's a girl 150 meters away looking for me. She's not dressed in many clothes, so I'm taking her a blanket. It's cold in Norway." I thought, this guy's for me. This is brilliant.
we have a fresh meat here.
Okay.
Welcome to the cult.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
So, when did you realize you were Pimo?
Oh, well, actually, I was not a Pimo. I was very in my whole life for
Okay.
almost 21 years till last year, around May.
Cool. And now you're lying on the floor.
Well, the wall in my bedroom, it looks like wood, so I'm kind of laying down. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us your story. We don't know you. Smells like free spirit is all we know.
Yeah. Well, I'm from a Spanish congregation in Central America and Costa Rica.
Okay.
I've been watching some videos and stuff like that from your channel and other people. My story, well, my mom was always pull me. What's that? Physically out, mentally in.
Mhm.
She never got baptized until, well, let's say 12 years ago, 13 years ago. But she always had me study, me and my brother, with the witnesses when we were children. I was studying with them when I was like 5 years old. So I was very indoctrinated since always. And I was baptized at 17.
Sorry, could you maybe move the microphone a bit away from you because it's
Yeah, there. How about there?
Yeah, maybe that's better.
Let me turn the volume down.
Yeah, that would also work.
Anyway, I was very much in, working for the brothers and sisters, going to the preaching work. I was never regular. I did always the pioneering whenever I had the time on my vacations and free time. Had 2 kids, always taught them that was the truth. I was the ones who was very upset with my husband because he was just doing the minimum. And I was going like, you have to go to do more. You have to do more. You have to do more. And my kids always the same thing. My mom got this fellowship with my sisters, and I was the one that even my children were crying, but I was just going like, no, we cannot talk to them. No, this is Jehovah's proof of discipline. No, if you don't talk to them, that's a proof of love. That's how deeply in I was, though I cried the whole time. So last year, I was looking for a picture on Google that talks something about JW Paradise and children, because I wanted to have a WhatsApp group for my family, for encouragement and stuff like that. And I stumble on the Australian Royal Commission. I saw this new about it was something like Jehovah Witness Kingdom holds it's a pedophile paradise.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Wait a minute. Yeah. No. This is not true. Oh, no. Oh, don't you dare to talk about my religion. Oh, this is Satan. Oh, this is so Satan. It's looking for me, but I'm not going to give up and blah, 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 blah. So I started to look at this video, and I saw Jeffrey Jackson on the stand saying that it would be presumptuous of them saying that they're the only channel on earth.
Oh, I hate it.
And I was like, what? Oh, no.
I was yelling
and I
at the
started, you know what? I started shaking. I started sweating. My heart was beating so hard. I just couldn't believe it. And I started going like, okay, let me see this link and let me see this link. And that took to another thing, and that took to another thing, and that took to another thing. And I was out. I was definitely out. And I started talking to my husband. He even said, if you keep going the way you're going, I'm going to leave you and I'm going to take our children away because you're destroying our spirituality. Like, what?
He said that.
And my mom, she's this fellowship, and one of my sisters is. And they said I'm an apostate and they can't talk to me, even though they're disfellowship right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that
They, you know what, it's funny because they think that you are like demonized. It's like demons get inside of your head. That's what they think, and then can talk to you, because the only thing you're going to make them do is stay away from Jehovah. And it's a funny thing. I never saw it that way when I was in, but that's what they do. That's what Jehovah Witnesses do. The organization equals Jehovah. My mom told me, you're wrong. You're totally wrong. And you're leaving Jehovah. You don't believe in anything anymore. And I said, well, I do have my beliefs, and I'm still me. I mean, I do think that we can be good people from our heart and do good to others and being honest and respectful. That doesn't take away my core, my core beliefs. But it's really, really hard. And I was mourning through a whole year. I still do. Like today, I went to this little piece of land that I have, and my next door neighbor was an elder from a former congregation. And he was having this guy working with him. And he asked the guy to talk to me because he could not talk to me. And I said, you know what? I can talk to you. I mean, this is a business thing. This is not a spiritual thing. But he has this face that he was scared. He was almost like scared to talk to me, and like I was Satan in person. And it's real weird.
Yeah.
And you know what? He was one very dear friend of mine, and I was helping him. He's an elder, and he's a special pioneer. He's been pioneering his whole life. So he has this little money that Watchtower sends him, but he has Parkinson now, and 70 years old. And the funny thing is that he was given this plot that he has his house in, and the government gave him his house because he's an elderly person now. So Satan's system is the one who's providing for him for most of the things that he has. But they don't see it that way. And I never saw it that way until in Spanish, we have a saying that says, los toros se ven mejor de afuera, which means that you can only see the whole complexity of the bull rodeo and the bullfight when you're outside and not in. And that's what, a long story short, that's basically what has happened in my life. Yeah.
So are you disfellowship now?
Yes.
Oh.
So is my husband.
Oh.
Yeah. We lost everything. We lost our friends because I never had a friend outside the congregation. I never had any support system outside of the congregation. I was diagnosed with cancer twice, and I always thought Jehovah was helping me going through, although just a few brothers and sisters came after the surgeries and stuff. I don't know. It's just you have to be in it to understand. It's so weird, so bizarre to talk about this to other people outside the religion or outside this this mindset,
But
this belief system.
Your husband and your family, that's really good.
Yeah, well, my mom, she says, I talked to her and I said, did you remember what the judges did back in Israeli times? I said, they always, even by command by God said that you cannot give a judgment call before hearing the two parts of the story. And that's what you're doing. I said, you're only hearing one part of the story and you haven't heard mine. So she was like, well, it could be, but that could also be Satan, so.
Yeah, we don't listen to those scriptures if they don't agree with us.
Well, I'm sorry.
What I think so sad about the disfellowshipping thing is that a lot, for me, I was 12 years old when I was baptized, and I was making a decision that would affect the rest of my life at that age.
Yeah.
I can't buy a house.
Yeah.
I can't join the army. I can't, I can't buy a drink in a pub. But
Yeah.
because of the decision I make at 12 years
Yep.
old, for the rest of my life, I have to lose my family because I changed my decision. That's the cruelest thing about it, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I-
and I was
It's illegal.
yeah.
It's illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
saw
illegal.
this channel once. It was Kevin McFree. Have you
Oh.
seen his channel?
Yes.
Oh, love Kevin.
Awesome. But the last one video he did, it was like, eventually I won't have a XJW tag. And that's what I'm aiming for. I just hope that in time I wouldn't have to have this tag in my shoulders, because this is a really heavy one to burn. It's so sad. I mean, I could never have a relationship with my mom, not at the moment or in the near future, nor one of my sisters. I lost all my friends, and then whenever I see them on the street, they just cross the street and they avoid me. And I never did anything wrong to them. I was always so good to them. So
But
good, but I mean,
so
beyond goodness.
your mom is shunning you even though she is disfellowshipped?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's been
Oh,
disfellowshipped for 5 years now, and she is shunning me totally.
Oh wow.
And one of my sisters too.
So they're still mentally in.
Totally in. And that's what my husband says, because they're out and they do things like morally
Yep.
not so good from a Jehovah Witness point of view, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like my sister-in-law, that she's not even a publisher, and she has this, according to the Jehovah Witness lifestyle, she's doing everything like it shouldn't be.
And still, they think they're better than you, because although they do all these weird things and they don't behave like a Jehovah Witness should, they think they're better, or they are in a better position because they still believe. And because I don't, I'm going to hell if it exists.
The thing is, though, apostasy is worse for a Jehovah's Witness than murder or rape or anything.
Oh, yeah. It's even worse than pedophilia. I mean, you can rape a kid and you can ask for forgiveness and you go back. But once you sin against the Holy Spirit that Jehovah holds in the Watchtower organization,
you're gone.
That's when you're really, you're going down the hill with no hopes of ever having success or ever, doing something good out of you.
You're a hot dog walking at that point.
Yeah.
And you mentioned about people getting baptized at 12 years old. I have a friend, and his daughter got baptized maybe 4 or 5 years ago at 12 years old. 14 years old, 2 years afterward, that was about maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago, she decides that she doesn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. So, not because she's not doing any drugs, she's not fornicating, she's not doing anything wrong. So she just doesn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. So my friend and his wife, they helped her write the letter of disassociation and gave her up in adoption.
Oh,
adoption.
God.
Oh, wow.
And then I that was one of the last meetings that we went to, when I asked him, like, oh, where's your daughter? We haven't seen her in a while. Well, and he said, oh, you didn't hear? You haven't heard? And he told me about it. And I'm like, oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, and they don't destroy families.
No, they don't. Yeah, of course they don't. Yeah.
Normal family.
One of the things that they say, basically the only thing they say when they claim to be a charity, what they do a charity, is that they create strong families.
Oh yeah, exactly.
That's a funny story that I have to tell because of this, the Memorial Day. My daughter, she's 16 now. And she's kind of in and out. She has her friends in the congregation, and everybody is love bombarding her, saying that, come on, baby girl, You're the one that supports your family. You're the lifeboat saving that Jehovah has for your family. If you keep loyal to Jehovah, maybe your family will come back, and your mom and your dad. So on the Memorial Day, the elders were supposed to come in to get to give her the the emblems, and I said, no, I don't want that here. And she says, well, if you don't want anything from Jehovah Witnesses, that means that you don't love me and that you don't want me. And I said, yeah, and I'm going to do the same thing that Jehovah Witnesses parents do when their children don't want to be a Jehovah Witnesses anymore. I'm going to kick you out of the house. And she says, well, I was kidding, right? And she says, would you do that? Would you dare to do that? And I said, well, that's what they told me in the Watchtower Society. You kick out your kids if they don't want to be Jehovah Witnesses. So what's wrong with doing that? So she was
there
like,
you go.
huh.
It just
Make her
amazed
think
me
for a little bit.
listening to
Yeah,
things like
so but
that.
she could not believe that I was saying that I was going to kick her out of the house because she was wanted to be a Jehovah Witness. Yeah, that's been really hard with her, with being fighting all over and crying all over. And she, at the beginning she didn't want to hear anything that her mom wanted to say to her. Like, come and see this video, and let me show you that, from JW Facts and stuff like that, and the information I was translating for her in Spanish. And she was like, no, I don't want to know that. I don't want to see that. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to listen to you or things like that. So it's really, really hard. Yeah. Because you know what? I even told the elders, they came. Because when I was talking to my with my daughter, they came and they'll call her on the phone and they said, where's out your house? So I was the one who went outside. And I said, I don't want you guys to talk to my daughter ever again. Not until she's 18. When she's 18, if she still want to go to you guys and she still want to have whatever she has, okay, I would let her do it because now she's 18. And I said, but let me have her through these years. Let me have this rest of the 2 years with her, because you know very well that if she gets committed to this and she gets baptized, I'm going to lose her. And you know what they said? You're not going to lose her. That's your daughter. You will never lose her. And I say, how can you say that? You just had, apaga la luz, mi amor. You just had a video where you presented to everybody in assembly halls where a daughter is disfellowship and she gets kicked out of the house, and you can see a phone call from her to her mother, and her mother doesn't answer the phone. So don't you dare to tell me that I will not lose my daughter, because I will eventually will if she keeps on going to this mindset of yours. So just let me have her. Let me enjoy her for this year and a half, so. One of the elders didn't even look at me. And I asked him, you know what? You look at me when I'm talking to you. You owe me that. You owe me that much. You look at me when I talk to you.
There you
So
go.
he stood up and he looked at me with like, that face that I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it anyways.
I think JW elders are bullies like that in a lot of ways. As soon as you're out of it and you sort of stand up to them and say, shut up, you're talking nonsense. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how. All they're used to is unbridled respect and submission off of everyone. I think that's what annoys them when people go back after they've left and they just say, mate, what are you on about? I know my oldest sister, when I won't go into the whole story, but when she eventually left, she was living with her boyfriend for several months before they caught on, and they said, "Can you come in for a little meeting?" So she goes in, and they started asking her all sorts of questions. She said, "Look, I'm living with my boyfriend. We're living a worldly life. That's all you need to know." And they started asking her, "Right, so are you having sex with him?" And then they tried asking her intimate questions about her sex life, and she just stood up and literally gave them the finger and walked out. I was like, "Get out!"
There you go.
You're talking about, But who do these people think they are? Who do they think they are?
They do that.
Yeah.
Well, they think they are Jehovah's mediator. That's what they think they are. They are God's appointed men. They are there to control, and they are there to give God's judgment upon people, and that's what they do.
But sorry.
So I just tell you a story about, the witnesses really and the elders really believe that they are the, working for Jehovah, and they're so important, and the witnesses also believe it. So I just got to tell you one thing, and it's not a criticism to my ex-wife. She can do what she wants, but she called me. We were separated, and she can do what she wants. But she called me and said, because she was not free to remarry, said, "I've been with another man, but it's okay. I spoke to the elders." So according to them, because she's not free to remarry with them, so imagine calling your spouse and say, "I had sex with someone else, but it's okay. I spoke to him."
Yeah. Oh God.
That is literally the equivalent of saying I've done a string of robberies, but it's okay. The priest has told me to do Hail Mary.
Yeah, you're good now.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I just don't understand when they're passing all these judgments on people and they're saying, oh, it's the right thing to split these families up because it's what God wants. They always conveniently forget about the scriptures that go completely against them. I mean, when Smells Like Teen Spirit, sorry, I don't know your name, but when you were talking there about your family being split up and saying it's all for, they're saying it's all for God. The scripture that's going through my head, I think it's 2 Timothy, where he says, a man who does not care for his own family is worse than a man without faith, and he will be rejected. They just conveniently forget about all the scriptures that apply. They just pick the ones that just suit their needs. They take it out of the chapter, and then they use that to punish people. And it's just a control mechanism. But
it's all about what the Watchtower says, not what the Bible says.
Yeah,
and I've had people, I've heard that many times, that you say, okay, yeah, I mean, look at what the Bible says here, whatever, and they will say, yeah, but what does the Watchtower say? What did the faithful and discreet slave write anything about that?
Yeah.
Then I have to do some research on what the Bible, what the Watchtower says.
Watchtower said, yeah.
So they will go.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
Always trump the Bible.
It goes back to arrogance, though. Well, I think what God meant to say is this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was talking to an elder long time ago about, the doctrine that whenever a spouse dies, and if you have the opportunity to remarry him in paradise, and they kept saying no, because that only applies to, the Bible says that once you're dead, you're like an angel, blah, 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 blah. But later on, like in 2013 or 2014, one Watchtower article came and says, well, we don't know the answers. But when I was talking to the elder, he was like, well, we still don't know the answers. We have to wait on the faithful and discreet slave to see what's coming up. But it came out with the same idea that I presented this elder a few years back in time. And, you don't know, you cannot tell for sure. You cannot be dogmatic about it. Maybe they were talking about only the ones that go to heaven, although that is not possible now. Well, at least in my head. I mean, everything came down and crashed down in my head. I no longer have those belief system anymore. But it was that serious that he told me, well, you have to wait on maybe you're right, but you have to wait on, leave it on God's hands, leave it on Jehovah's hands, and the faithful slave will sort it, figure it out for you.
Yeah, you cannot run ahead of the organization.
Yes, you don't have to think about it. Don't think about it. Don't waste your time using critical thinking. Just wait on Jehovah.
Yeah, you're thinking
we'll work
too much.
It out for you.
You're thinking too much. You have to wait until.
Oh yeah, especially if you're a woman.
Time. Oh yeah, especially if you're a woman.
But you can't
when they disfellowship me, what one elder said? He says, "You're such a bright woman, and you're so influenced in the congregation that you are a danger to all of us."
Oh.
Yes, he said
that was a compliment, actually.
It was a compliment. That's when I stood up and I said, "I'm gonna go now." And and you can finish up your little meeting with the three of you, because I'm leaving. I don't want to go back here ever again.
There you go. Good for you.
Yeah. But you know, my husband went with me that first time. He was disfellowship like a month and a half later. He was with me at that time. So I stood up and I said, I'm going to go now. And he stayed back. And this brother that said that to me looked at him and said, tu esposa es tan falta de humildad. You know, like your wife is not she's not humble.
Yeah,
she's never been humble. Like she's always been. And you know what? I try my best. I was very much in, and whenever they said I was like submissive or something, I cried. I cried to Jehovah and I said, "Please, God, make me more submissive. Maybe less smart. Maybe a little bit dumb. That's what I need. I need to be dumb, you know, in order to fit into this."
Yeah, my wife always also had a problem with that. I mean, you cannot try to overpower a Puerto Rican woman. Don't try. You'll pay for it.
Well, I'm from Costa Rica, baby, so pretty much same culture.
Pretty much. And we have, I have people I know, or at least knew, you know, we had some friends in Dallas from Costa Rica.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what we have from all this chaos. You have to start making new friends. You have to start making new projects in life, and you have to mourn on the ones that you didn't accomplish because you thought the Armageddon was just not around the corner, but knocking on your door.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was so in that I actually begged my children not to go to college, and I was going to give them money if they were, you know, dedicating to be pioneering and stuff like that. Because I always, you know, I truly believe that Armageddon was just knocking on our doors, and this life was just garbage. We were waiting for a better life in paradise, and I miss that. Even I miss that feeling that it provided me like safetyness, you know, like, yeah, I'm gonna have something better.
I know what you're saying.
I hear you, but for me, it didn't feel like safety. It felt like constant fear that if I did anything wrong in the next couple of days, that was.
Oh well, yeah, that too. But if you stay in line and you try to do your best, you had a shot. You know, you had a chance.
Yeah, my youngest brother thought like you. Then I mean, he was always like in constant fear. He hated this. I was more like smells like free spirit. That I was more like this. I was looking forward to something better, even though there were all sorts of red flags everywhere. But you were like, oh, well, Jehovah will fix this at the end, and in paradise it will be better over there.
Exactly.
All these idiots are not going to be idiots anymore. So, but yeah.
Jehovah's going to smart them up eventually. Yeah.
If you understood how many times I've heard that on the carts, how many times? Oh, it's okay. Jehovah will sort it out. Jehovah will sort it out.
Right. That's what because that's what they made us believe from the bottom of our heart, that you may see imperfect things within this perfect organization, but Jehovah eventually will sort it out. He will leave it in Jehovah's hands. If you don't understand, or leave it in Jehovah's hands. Don't be so critic. Leave it in Jehovah's hands. He will work it out. Don't go ahead.
Yeah.
So,
but even when I was in, even when I go ahead, Jonah.
Yeah, it's fun to say all religions have the same explanation. They just use different words.
Oh yes.
So I'm doing some cooperation with ex-Mormons, and they always say the gospel is perfect, but the humans are not perfect.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah.
So you were saying.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Yes. I was gonna say that even when I was in, like mentally in, it got to a point that I saw so many things that I even told my wife, like, if these people that I'm seeing that are considered the spiritual ones, if everybody's gonna be like that in paradise, I don't think I want to be there. So I mean, it started to get creepy for me, and I think it was, even though I was mentally in it, I think like in the back, I was getting to see the cultish culture of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Could you literally, thinking about it though, imagine a world forever where every night there would be a Jehovah's Witness party, because that would suck.
Exactly.
No
Yeah.
one's allowed to have more than one drink. There's some old guy on a guitar in a corner singing like old Kingdom melodies and stuff. Right?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And the kids are playing hide and seek. There's nothing to do forever.
Yeah.
Forever, that is your life. And you have to dress up like 1950s forever. What's the
Yeah.
It might sound a little bit silly, but I thought what I saw myself was like, let me see if I could get myself through the millennium, and then I'll decide otherwise. Like, let me just get through the millennium, and at the end I'll decide whether I'm gonna, get along with those rebels that the society said that they will get come out at the end of the millennium. So I'll decide then whether I want to be here or not.
Yeah, I had an experience from the preaching work one day. I was preaching to this lady, and I said, because she asked me, well, you guys believe in a paradise, right? And I said, yes, we do believe. The Bible says, look at this, Psalms verse 37, whatever. And I showed her one of the videos. It was a new video about, a description of Earth, paradise Earth. And she was like, oh, but that's so boring. That is so boring. No, I don't want to be there. It's like, what? What do you mean you don't want to be there? That is beautiful. So yeah, I was so in, definitely so in. I couldn't believe that she was saying that was boring. I mean, it is. It actually is.
Yeah.
You were going to say something, Jonah.
Forever on this planet, but if you think about the Watchtower paradise, like living on this planet forever, I wouldn't mind actually. Solve one problem at a time and make it better and better and better. But the Watchtower, this religious idea, it's so disgusting in so many ways. Like you talk about the guitar and the ugly Kingdom melodies, but think that you still would have thought crime. You have freedom of choice, but that's limited to one option: serve Jehovah.
Yes. Yeah.
Do exactly what it is. The freedom of choice is basically your suicide or not. If you disagree with anything, Big Brother will kill you, and he sees you and he can read your thoughts. So freedom of choice is basically no choice.
Yes.
Except suicide by cop.
Yeah.
You tell Big Brother you don't want to live on Utopia, and you get removed. That's the only thing.
Right.
So and also, and how you're going to spend time. Imagine the concept of worshiping God forever. So God that kind of created the universe. He wants me to spend my days singing for him. Oh God, you are so great. You are so great. You are so great.
Yeah. And not only singing, but thinking about him 24/7 for millennia and millennia.
That bothered me.
And not just thinking about him. You have to be happy about being a witness. You can't be a good witness. You have to be happy about being a witness.
Yeah.
What the hell is that about?
Yeah, but imagine if you did something really good. You spend all your time and energy to solve a problem, maybe malaria or something, and you fix it, and you save millions of lives, and you get the Nobel Prize, and you open your balcony, and well, that would be in Stockholm, but there's 1,000 people. You're basically singing your praise, and you're happy, you're waving. And that's a good experience because you've done something good and they're showing their appreciation, and we're all human beings together. But then the next morning you opened it and they're still there. Can you imagine day 2 of people singing your praise? Or day 3, or like 1 week after you open your door and they're still there singing. Daniel. It's so awkward.
Maybe,
and then you know that the only reason they do it is because you would kill them if they don't.
Maybe that's how they're going to count their time after Armageddon is by singing to Jehovah. There'll be no one to preach to.
Yeah, but I mean, I still like the idea of living forever. It was just that it got creepy
Oh yeah.
when you see all the things that the witnesses are or supposed to be. It was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
You
It's
know what,
better.
Efrain? I'm also fond of the idea of living forever because that was one of the main um, source for me. You know, one of the main rocks in my belief system. But not that kind of everlasting life that you deserve because you're just part of this religion. And I told my daughter a few weeks ago that even if there was a judgment from a creator, I'm most definitely sure that it will be a judgment from your heart and not for what you believe or don't believe.
Hmm.
And if there is a God that has the power to kill uh, everybody, it probably won't be just because you believe uh, or don't believe and a faithful and discreet slave. It will be because of your heart. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah,
and
who
I'm
doesn't?
holding on to that hope because it gives me comfort
Yeah,
for whatever
everybody.
reason it is, you know.
Yeah, who would not like? Who would not love to live forever? It's just, that's one of the
Yeah.
things that kind of got me disappointed when I learned about the truth about this organization, that you just and all what you had uh, was taken away from you when talking
Right.
about like the future. It was disappointing, but you get over it and you learn new things. Get new friends, you make new family. You eventually get over all of this.
I think living forever with the people of your congregation is pretty much overrated anyway. There are several people in that congregation I did not like to spend 5 hours a week.
Oh yeah,
Much less
Oh
definitely.
yeah.
live next door. Can you imagine the most worst, most gossipy, most busy bee person in the
Yeah,
congregation,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
live
yeah.
next door to them every day forever.
I'm glad that you said that because my brother, the one that's still inside, he's from Chile. I mean, from Chile. He's in Chile right now, and he visited the branch, and one of the brothers in the branch told him that they believe that half of the Jehovah's Witnesses were going to be among the people who would die in Armageddon. So that kind of gives you like the idea of how they make you think about even the brothers that are sitting with you at the Kingdom Hall. So I'm pretty sure that most will be like, I hope you're among one of those that are not going to make it because I don't want to see you there. So it's sad.
To be honest, if there's any truth to what they were saying, I think it would be people above ministerial servant level would be the ones that would be culled. I think it'd be the publishers on the ground that are out there knocking doors every day thinking they're doing the right things. If it was all true, they're the ones that would probably get saved. Stephen Lett ain't getting through nowhere.
Yeah, and
What,
they said, oh, don't let Satan, because Satan is using your brothers and sisters in the congregation to stumble you. So don't let him stumble you with this brother or this sister. So you make your best and you go take a deep breath and you start thinking, I'm not going to let Satan stumble me with this sister. I'm not going to let Satan stumble me with this sister. And so, yeah, because Satan is using them to stumble you, right?
I mean, there's
Oh, yeah.
9 billion people on the earth. For them 6 cretins, the best that Jehovah could come up with. You telling me?
And remember, even the worst Jehovah Witness in your congregation, it's better than any worldly person. It's better than any worldly person that is better than them. But they're not Jehovah Witnesses, so they don't deserve that.
Yeah, well, it's better for people to commit suicide than to get this fellowship. Because if they commit suicide, they're going to get resurrected again. You know, it's all
right.
twisted.
Yeah, it's all messed up. But the thing is
Realms.
that anybody that who is in either in the process of leaving right now, or trying to help somebody, life gets a lot better when you
Yeah.
leave. Life gets a lot better when you leave, and it's not a switch. It's a process. Everybody will take some time. Different. It's different for each person. My wife is still struggling with it, and we've been out 2 years, and she's had some professional help, and it did help her to talk to a psychologist, and she will do that again. And so the thing is that it's not going to get worse with time. It's going to get better.
Yep.
Yeah.
That I
Yeah.
promise you.
I agree 100%. Everything you just said.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm living it right now. The first 6 months, I thought I was gonna die. I definitely thought I was gonna die of sorrow and sadness and bitterness, and I started hating it so much, this corporation, and I cried over my friends. I cried over my family. I cried over my daughter. I cried over so many opportunities in life that I just swept away, and but like you said, it gets better in time because time heals tons of things. And I did went to a psychologist like 3 times too, and it was a great help. It was tremendous help for me.
I
Yeah.
went through counselling. Do you know what? I went through counselling for something else that I thought was the main problem. And by the end of the several weeks that I was seeing him, he brought it back down to Jehovah's Witnesses, and he basically said, "Well, you're a victim of child abuse." Not like that. I said, no. My parents love me. My parents were really good with me. All the rest. He says, but let's go back over what you've told me in the last few weeks. Did you all the time think that Armageddon was about to come and everyone's about to get killed? Yes, that's child abuse. He said, did you worry that if you weren't doing the right thing, you would die at Armageddon? Well, yeah, well, that's child abuse.
There
Were
you
you
go.
told not to speak to your sister for 6 years? Yeah, but that's child abuse. He
Yeah.
says your parents didn't mean to do that to you, he says, but the
Yeah.
situation they were forced into, you were abused as a child through those things, and that's what.
Yeah.
And from there, but when he explains it, I can't explain. It's just it's just the weight that comes off because it's not you being broken inside. It was something that was done to you. Does that
Yeah.
make sense to anyone else? It's not me that was the problem. It was them the problem, putting the
Yeah.
problems onto me.
Yes. That's what I've heard. My brother said those exact words. That this is a type of child abuse to submit young ones to this fear and guilt.
Yeah.
And-
I asked my son for forgiveness 2 months ago when he was talking to me and he started to cry. And he's 20 years old. He's 6'3" tall.
Same as me.
21. Yeah, good.
You got
21 years old, this handsome boy. And we were talking about, the watchtower and stuff. Well, I was the one doing the talk. And he started to cry. And I said, did I said something that offended you? And he says, Mom, I lost so many things in my childhood because of this religion that you taught us. And now you said that this is wrong.
Oh,
You never let me go to a soccer game. I took him out of the piano classes that he loved so much because it was a Saturday morning and we had to go to the preaching work. So you cannot go to Saturdays because we have to serve Jehovah. He lost opportunities to go overseas to play because he was a good soccer player and people were looking after him. I told him, no, you cannot be part of the team because that's competition. Jehovah doesn't like competitions. No, you cannot have those friends because those are worldly friends. So you cannot have them. Although you don't have too many friends in the congregation at your age, you can have older friends and whatever, all these things. And whenever he did something wrong, and I was like, Jehovah doesn't like that. You have to change your mind. You have to blah, 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 blah. And I thought I was doing the right thing, right? Because as a parent, but that was child abuse. That was child abuse. And he also lost so so much. I mean, if I started listening all the things that he told me that day, it really makes me sad. And I said, I'm so sorry. I'm really, 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 really sorry. And we're going to try to make this up, you know, try to make the time that we lost, the opportunities that we lost, all the things that we left behind. And we're going to try to do our best. But he was also referring to that, like Dan said, that was child abuse, totally child abuse. And even my daughter, I was, you know, when she was like 12, 14, she didn't want to go to the meetings. And I was just keep telling her, well, you have to go because you live under my house and you live under my rules. And you're going to go whether you like it or not because I'm fighting for your life. You may not understand it now, but a girl, you're going to go with me whether you like it or not. And you're going to sit there and you're going to listen. And I'm going to ask you all the questions right after the meeting is over. And we're going to go and read the Bible. And we're going to go and do the study. And you're going to come up with me to the preaching work. She hated it. She hated it. And I was so preoccupied for that I forced her to do all these things that she did not want to do. And I thought I was doing the right thing. You see how messed up that is? See how crazy that is?
I think that's the one thing that you have to hold on to, that was that you were trying to do the right thing. Because even though we all of us went through child abuse, if you want to call it that in that fashion, you know, it came from the right place. It's not like our parents were alcoholics and they were neglecting us because they were on the bottom. It was because they loved us so much that they were like you and your son. You didn't do it because you didn't make him miss them parties because you wanted to hurt him. You made him miss them parties because you wanted to save his life, because you thought that he depended on it. Do you know what I mean? It comes from the right place. And I think that's what we've got to hold on to out of this. The wrongs that we took of other people and the wrongs that we inflicted on other people, it was what we believed was good for them, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what you've got to hold to. For me, that's what I've got to hold on to, you know?
But that's why I don't want my parents to wake up. And especially not my mother, because she's trained to maximize guilt. You know, if you make, they always say that the reason why we will not die in Armageddon is not because we're perfect, it's because we feel 10 times as guilty as other people. You know, if they make a mistake, they move on with their life. But we feel crippled by guilt
Right.
You know, so we're trained, because that's the only way God loves us, is we can impress him with how much we hate ourselves, you know. So my mother, if she would realize if she would wake up, my father would kick her out.
Yeah.
And then maybe she would lose her 4 kids. And then, I'm sorry to say this, but I would have her on my door crying. And since she's still a witness mentally, she's afraid of going to psychologist. If she went to psychologist, she would probably try to start a Bible study with him. I will fire her. So that's actually my worst nightmare, is that my mother should wake up.
Right.
Because I have been a caretaker of a woman with slightly mental problem, you know, due to the disease my ex-wife had. And I can't imagine having my mother with all this guilt and all this trauma and you know, the concept that I was taught also by my mother, to maximize guilt. You know, it's not enough to feel guilt and hate yourself. You should be totally devastated. You know?
Yeah.
If she ever found out what she did, that's too much for her. And then all the other trauma, you know.
I think for the older ones especially, they've invested so many decades of their life into it that what would they do if it was wrong? What they would have to admit that they've wasted the last 50 years of their life or whatever, you know? It's at that point you're just going to stick it out, aren't you? It's too much invested.
I have to go right now, guys. It was lots of fun. Nice meeting you, Dan. Nice meeting you, Costa Rica. Always loving your videos, Goat Like.
Yeah, but we're hitting the 3-hour mark here, and I'm an old man and need to sleep. It's 3 o'clock, 3 a.m. here. I'm here.
2 a.m. here.
3 a.m. here.
Wow.
This is I'm doing this kind of. I'm in the middle of it's not too late for Europeans if you're lazy up anyway, and like England is 1 hour in the past, and then America and Australia. Yeah, I'm trying to do my best here. So
Right. It's basically 7 o'clock here.
Yeah.
7 p.m.
I have 8 p.m.
My employees are arriving in 6.5 hours. I have to get sleep before then.
Well, guys, it was nice having a small participation here. I was so excited. Thank you so much for, all the good talk. And for one reason or the other, I stumbled on you guys, and it has helped me a lot to watch all these videos and all these live streams and all these different opinions, and we all have this one thread that unites us all. So it is good, and thank you so much.
And I will try to work with this concept, kind of like calling the show from Pimo to Pomo, and kind of work that, not the doctrines and all the crazy stuff, because I think there's a lot of people in the process of leaving.
Yes.
You feel so lonely. You lose your friends, and you're not even disfellowshipped yet, but you lost everything, and you have enough, and you still can't go out in the world because you still have to identify as a witness. I thought it would be a good thing to have a weekly talk show or something. They just have to work on the concept. So tell the people in the comment to give me more ideas of what to ask, but they've been lazy. Yeah, but we're working on it. So this was the pilot, and let's see. Oh, it's 3 o'clock now. So let's land this plane and see you in paradise.
See you guys.
See you in paradise. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.